This is Freeman's second chance today. The pitch. On the ground, double play. Tricky hop. There's one. Winn fires to first in time. What a double play.
Left side is wide open.
Right back to the mound. Bounced off Kasperius. Outbound throw off target. Runner coming home. Throw is late. The Cardinals steal a run. Swing and a high towering fly ball to left. That ball's going to get down, and the Cardinals are going to win. Arenado walks them off. It's a 2-1 Cardinal winner.
It's just a combination of talent and grit, man. This group gets after it. They love competition. Doesn't matter who's across the way. This is a very respected team across the way, a really good roster. They've been looking forward to this matchup, and today was just an awesome game.
That's what it sounded like over the weekend. FanDuel Sports Midwest with the audio alongside Alex, who's back from his vacation, and Tanner Hendrickson. I'm Brandon Kiley. Cardinals win 2 out of 3 over the weekend against the Dodgers, just as some of us may have predicted on the Redbird Report. I'll throw that out there. Cardinals win 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers. T-Bone, that was not you that said they would win 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers.
Oh, wait a minute.
Just to be clear here, you said win 1 out of 3 against the Dodgers, 2 out of 3 against the Blue Jays. Somebody else that is on that show
at least
did
it's
say
still
2 out of 3
I
predicted it
on the Redbird Report. Woo! I'm still on pace to go 3-3.
Yeah, man. 2 out of 3.
Guess I should go back and listen to my own podcast.
That is the most fun I've had watching the Cardinals this season. It is. That was such a big test for them going up against that specific opponent. We talked about this with you out on Friday, Alex, was like the idea just seemed almost impossible that they would take 2 out of 3. But what would it mean for this team, this fan base, to see them do that against that opponent? And I can't speak for anybody else other than myself. It makes me believe that the ceiling for this team is higher than we've been giving them credit for. They have now won a series this season against the Twins. The Twins are 35-30 on the year. They have won 2 series this season against the Phillies, who are going through it right now, but they're still 37-28 on the year. They won a series against the Astros, who are, by the way, don't look now, back to first place in the AL West. They won a series against the Brewers. They're 35-31. They won a series against the Mets. They're 42-24. Don't look at the other series. That never happened. And they won a series against the Dodgers now, who are 39-27 on the season. You add all of it up, Alex, they are 19-15 overall this season against teams with a winning record. That may not sound like a lot, but the only teams in Major League Baseball that have been better against winning opponents this season than the Cardinals are the Mets, the Yankees, and the Tigers. Let me give you a little more context on this, okay? Cubs, they've been pretty good this season, we would all agree. 13-15 against winning clubs. The Phillies, legit contender, we all agree with that?
Yeah.
14-17 against winning clubs. Dodgers 15-14. Brewers 16-20. The Padres 14-21. And just to once again signify how terrible the Braves have been this year, they're 12-21 against winning clubs when they play them head to head. Alex, my concern about the Cardinals in recent seasons has always been, okay, you can beat up on some of these bad clubs. Can you do it against the good ones, though? Because that's who you're going to play against in the postseason. This team can do it. They've shown it time and time and time again. This ceiling is higher for the 2025 Cardinals than I think we certainly gave them credit for going into the season. I think it's even higher than I gave them credit for a week ago.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there, because every single opponent that they've really gone up against, you felt like they've had a shot to win those baseball games, with the exception of those few series that you just went through. I mean, for me, this weekend against the Dodgers, it just reiterated something that I've been saying for the last month. The Cardinals just never feel like they're out of games. Even Sunday when they were losing, they started to actually pull their way back into it. And I think Ollie was the one that said it afterwards, like the Dodgers felt every single inning that they had to play against us in that series. He's absolutely correct. Whether you're the Dodgers, whether you're the Phillies, whether you're the Mets, you go in a series with the Cardinals like, man, we got out of that by the hair of our chinny chin chin. And that's a good thing to have if you're the Cardinals right now. Honestly, it feels a lot like what the Blues went through, to where when they came back from that break, we all looked at it as like, man, they're not going to pull this one off. But the part that I feel like resembles more of the Blues is it didn't matter the opponent they went up against, whether it was Winnipeg or Colorado or Dallas. They would exit those games being like, dude, they didn't win, but they felt like they should have won. Or when they did win, they wiped that team away. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what this feels like right now. Like that game on Friday against the Dodgers, I went into it thinking it's like, boy, I don't know what the Cardinals are going to do in this series. And then at the end of it, it's like, I think the Cardinals might sweep the series against the Dodgers.
It's crazy.
It's just how this offense, like, it does take you on a roller coaster ride, but consistency from the beginning of the regular season up until this series win against the Dodgers, I don't care who the pitcher is. I don't care who the opponent is. The Cardinals offense has a chance to put 5 or 7 runs up on them.
We got Debbie Downer over on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/101 ESPN STL. James Plunkett over there says, guys, the Cardinals lost the series to the Pirates, the Angels, and the Rangers.
Is that what you imagine James Plunkett's voice sounds like?
Bleeping Phillies just got swept by the Pirates. So?
Oh, I changed my answer then. They're not a real
He
contender.
lost the game to the Rockies recently.
The Dodgers.
Oh, that's right.
Didn't the Dodgers lose his series against the Rockies?
Yeah, that's right.
Did they?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly,
I think they lost
got
a
swept
game.
maybe it was the Pirates.
But
They
then
got
the
swept by
Pirates.
the Angels, I know.
Angels, that's the one that I'm thinking. They lost a series to a bad team. I knew that.
The Rockies swept the Pirates, and ipso facto, the Cardinals lost to the
it's not
Pirates. So
great.
the Cardinals lost to the Rockies.
I mean, come on.
Give it time. We'll
Yes,
see.
they did. You're correct. They lost a series to the Pirates, the Angels, and the Rangers. Cool.
Way to go,
Look at
James.
their overall resume, man. If we're doing this we're going to the NCAA tournament, right? We're doing the blind resume. Dude, the Cardinals have one of the 5 best resumes in baseball so far this year. That's pretty good, man. We can just be happy about this club. That's allowed. I know that everybody's waiting for the other shoe to drop. I've been right there with you. I watched that Rangers series and thought to myself, oh boy, this could get ugly. And then we saw the Royals series, and the Royals offense was not good coming in, and they exploded against your pitching. And there are even some things, and we'll talk about this coming up in the next segment, that does lead me to wonder, like, okay, was the pitching real over the weekend? I think all of those concerns are fair. But hot damn, dude, they just won 2 of 3 against the Dodgers. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. That was awesome. That rocked. Everything about that series was a hell of a lot of fun here. The 40,000 fans in the stands over the weekend. That was great.
Which one did you have more fun with? The Cardinals beating the Dodgers or the Royals beating the Cardinals?
Come on, man.
Royals beating the Cardinals. Okay, we all know.
That's not cool.
We all know.
I was there on Friday night, and it was a legitimately electric atmosphere.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
That was the other thing. I mean, you heard multiple guys reference what it felt like with the crowd and because what, it was 40,000 on Saturday, or was that Sunday?
Friday and Sunday, I think, were 40 plus.
Well, that was the
1,000,
40
if I'm
plus
not
thousand.
mistaken.
Like, you had guys talking about how they felt that momentum in the stadium, and you saw it over the weekend. Now, it was the Dodgers, and the Dodgers travel well, but you started to see that stadium fill up, and you saw what the Cardinals do when you have that type of crowd with them.
Yeah, 40,000 on Friday, 37 on Saturday, and yesterday I think it was like 42. Yeah, 42,000 yesterday. That felt like Busch Stadium when I moved here in like 2015, 2016. That's what those crowds felt like on a consistent basis over the course of the weekend. It was back to that over this weekend. Now it's Dodgers. You mentioned it, Alex. A lot of caveats here, but it was legit.
Yeah. And like you said, they played to their strengths, right? Like, if you wanted to ever have a showcase as to, like, if fans weren't buying in, okay, what are the Cardinals of 2025? The weekend very much was the story of that, right? Where they manufacture runs. You have the Masyn Winn sprint home on Saturday that leads to it. They outduel. They are able to come in and beat the Dodgers 5-0, shut them out. I think it was only like the 4th time the Dodgers in that almighty lineup have been shut out all
They
season
almost did
long.
it in back-to-back games.
Yeah.
I was looking up the stats. It hasn't happened since
was
2018.
Holy crap! It's
He
been
was
that
ready
long.
to fire that one off.
I had it in the draft, so I was
Oh,
ready
so
to
you're the
go.
reason it didn't happen. Oh, there's a BKO we didn't know about over the
I
weekend.
mean, it was a wild pitch, too. Come on, Cards.
I know. I loved BK panicking over that when he sends a text in the group chat. Pies, if you're in there for defense, block the baseball.
Well, was I wrong?
They won. Relax, man.
Yeah, but at the time, we didn't know that they were for sure going to
But
win.
BK had a stat that he wanted
I
to
know,
use, and
I know.
Pahe screwed it up.
That's really what happened.
It's gonna happen, man.
I know
Just so
how
you guys
BK
know.
works. If his stat doesn't come to fruition, it's that guy's fault.
It's 100% correct.
Unbelievable.
Pass the blame. Accept. Nope.
No.
Accept. No, you don't accept the blame.
No, pass the blame.
Take the credit,
Take the
pass the
credit.
blame.
Well, I was halfway there.
You got 0% of the credit. What was your favorite
Credit,
moment
pass
from the weekend?
blame. Well, you not putting out your stat, that was probably my favorite part of the whole weekend.
There were a lot of great moments. Did you guys have one in particular that stood out to you?
I mean, mine was Nolan Arenado off the bench on Saturday. Like, anytime you get a walk-off game, especially when you've got a Nolan Arenado against the team that, deep down he probably wished he was part of, that was a pretty cool moment.
Mine was the Pajes bunt. Dude, your catcher, who like I think he said he
love that
hasn't
you're
bunted in
being
a long
serious.
time. Oh.
He is too.
I love good small ball. I miss pitchers hitting and bunting and sacrifices, and Pages getting it down, and not only getting it down, being safe at first base when he had no business of being safe at first, and then of course you have Arenado walk it off. But the Pages bunt was easily my favorite.
My actual answer is the Winn dash. But if I'm going to go beyond that, like every play that Masyn Winn was involved with defensively would be on this list. And maybe more importantly, Phil Maton. What he did on Friday night in the 8th inning. Romero comes in. He had just got out of the 7th, and then he comes in. He's got to face a couple of batters. Betts, Freeman. Betts singles, Freeman doubles, and then you have strikeout, ground out by Phil Maton to get out of that inning when they're up 4-0, and you have the heart of the order coming up. And you've got 2 on, nobody out with Phil Maton coming in. Every single person in the stadium, the tight cheeks were ready to go. It was like, oh boy, is this about to potentially flip on us? All game, the Cardinals had been completely in control. Sonny pitched an unbelievable gem on Friday night. By the way, he's been great for a while now.
That was an ace start right there.
I think his ERA is down to like 3.3 on the season. Sonny's pitching like a 1 again. And when he's at home, no home run issues. That's really the story for Sonny. But for Maton to come into that spot and get out of that jam, that was unbelievably impressive to me. He's having a hell of a season.
Yeah, and the fact that you knew what was coming, that curveball, and he's still spinning it up there, and he's still mowing through the Dodgers. By the way, maybe my second favorite play behind the bunt. You're not beating the Pages bunt. I'm sorry.
It's your third favorite because the second favorite's the bunt too.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, Victor Scott, like, avoiding being drilled in the face with a bunt, impressive. But my third favorite then would be the double play, that Ohtani missile that you heard in the return there, where Donovan is able to, like, jump with the ball, make the play, toss the second, and then to your point on like all the plays that were made by Masyn Winn over the weekend, he's probably one of 2 or 3 shortstops in baseball that can turn that double play, because Ohtani is no slouch when it comes to running down the bases. He needed everything of that 90-mile-an-hour cannon of an arm to get that double play turned. Otherwise, you've got Ohtani on first base and the double play's not there, and we're not even talking about the play.
Great weekend at the ballpark. Cardinals win 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers. They're back in action tonight against the Toronto Blue Jays. I think people are underestimating this series a bit. Toronto's been playing some really inspired baseball. Their offense has been great. You'll see Barrios and Bassett over the next couple of days, so some good pitching on the other side. You have Palante on the mound tonight. So we'll talk about that as we go along today. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. You can check us out on YouTube, as always, at youtube.com/101ESPN-STL. Katie Wu, a Cardinals insider, will join us coming up at 12 o'clock in 15 minutes. Sure sounds like Sam Bennett's not going anywhere. So I'm sure there's going to be plenty here in St. Louis that will be disappointed by that. We'll give you the latest on Bennett coming up in 15 minutes. But next, did Michael McGreevy earn another start based on his performance yesterday? It sure sounds like the answer is no. We'll explain the team's perspective and discuss if we agree with it coming up on the other side here on BK and Ferrario.
Alex Ferrario with you to talk about my friends out at Classic Air Care who are making your home comfortable thanks to their incredible technicians and the customer service that you get over at Classic Air Care. It's a company that have been making people comfortable since 1926, and they've been doing that with our home since 2016. The first home that my wife and I purchased, we had a 25-year-old HVAC system that they kept all the way up until we moved out, kept running, I should say. And then the next house, the one that we live in currently, that one was a 23-year-old unit, and it finally hit the fritz last year, but Classic Air Care took care of it, and then now we've got a new one thanks to Classic Air Care. And the main thing I urge people to do, friends, family, is check out their maintenance program. Twice a year, they come out, they clean the unit, check the unit, make sure it's good to go for the hot summer and the cold winter, and if any issues pop up, you call, you get priority scheduling because you're a part of their maintenance agreement, and they'll come out, they'll fix it. Knowledgeable technicians, and they're so great in terms of getting those out there for you. There's financing options if you're looking to purchase a new HVAC system. Get on their schedule today for that maintenance agreement. Just tell them Alex Ferrario sent you. It's Classic Air Care and ClassicAirCare.com.
And strike three. McGreevy paints a corner. That was a nicely executed sequence. And a ring to the pitch. Swing and a miss. McGreevy strikes out his fifth man. If that's the end of the line, Michael did a heck of a job today. One bad inning, the difference.
I really liked what we saw out of him today, and just his overall poise. I mean, that one inning, they score three. They tack on one more with Edmonds. Ball down the third baseline. But overall, man, I felt like, especially against this lineup, he did a nice job.
Alex, I'm going to read you some of the batted balls against Michael McGreevy in the first two innings against the Dodgers yesterday. 99, 105, 97, 101, 108, 103, 103, 107. Those were all of the batted balls against McGreevy in the first two innings of the game. If I told you that he basically put together a quality start after that, when we were watching that, we would have both been like, I don't know how that's going to be possible. That audio, by the way, courtesy of FanDuel Sports Midwest, Ollie Marmol after the game. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't always pretty for Michael McGreevy, but it was pretty darn effective overall. He gives you 6 innings, 4 earned runs allowed, did not walk anybody. I think a lot of what we saw yesterday was honestly more impressive than what I saw from Fedde on Saturday. We'll get into that a little bit more here in just a little bit. But I was pretty content with what we saw from Michael McGreevy, given what the competition was on the other side. When you go up against Betts, Freeman, and Ohtani, yeah, you're going to give up some loud contact. That happens. It's about finding your way through and navigating that lineup. Gives you 100 pitches, 6 innings. Yeah, I have a tough time not being happy about that, all things considered. What did you think of McGreevy's spot start that he gave you this year?
I thought it looked like a guy that deserved more starts. And you look at the stat line and you're like 6 innings, 8 hits, 4 earned runs. Okay start from McGreevy. But then when you dig deeper and you find out that all of that damage came in that second inning, Michael McGreevy put together a really good start against a lineup that is not the easiest to go through. You saw some swing and miss stuff there with 5 strikeouts, but I think the biggest thing, because what I'm doing with McGreevy is I'm comparing it to Andre Palante.
Sure.
The biggest thing with McGreevy is guy really never put himself in danger with the exception of that second inning where he gives up the 3 hits and some really hard hits. Other than that, you're not walking guys. You're not putting guys on that you have to pitch yourself out of danger. That's what Andre Palante hasn't done in just his previous start. His last 3 or 4 starts, he's been doing that to himself. Now, he's found ways to get through it with little to no damage. But for me, watching McGreevy pitch against the Dodgers in that series that you were trying to get the sweep in, which means the Dodgers were doing everything to avoid a sweep, that's a really good start for him to where I look at that and I say, cool, give me more of Michael McGreevy. Because now we're getting a larger sample size from last year to this year of multiple times where we're seeing McGreevy against really good opponents. I believe last year he pitched against the Phillies. This year he pitched earlier against the Mets and had a very competitive outing. And now you're doing it against the Dodgers. And yeah, you gave up 4 earned runs, but you gave them a quality start overall for a guy who came into a spot start situation. So I want to see more of McGreevy.
Yeah, I was very impressed by him yesterday because, I mean, you look at how things kind of snowball on him early there, and then he's able to kind of bounce back, figure out what was wrong, and he's able to kind of shut down the lineup, the Dodgers lineup from there. I mean, he gave you everything you could ask for. 6 innings, 4 earned runs against that Dodgers lineup. That's a win. And by the way, they needed him to cover about 6 innings yesterday because their bullpen was a little bit fried going into that game. So he did what his job was, which was eat innings and give us a chance to win that ball game. So I was very impressed. And the other thing, too, is the swing and miss stuff, though early on you didn't really see it, really kind of fine-tuned as that outing went along. He had 10 swings and misses in that outing against that Dodgers lineup. That's the second most in that last turn through the rotation. The only guy that beat him was your ace in Sonny Gray. He had more than Palante, more than Libby, and more than Michaelis. So I was very impressed by what we saw from him yesterday.
He's got respectable swing and miss. He's got an out pitch, and he doesn't walk anybody. And I think that, Alex, you mentioned the lack of walks. His command is really impressive, and it allows him to get away sometimes with some of that hard contact. That's something you're going to live with because McGreevy, while, yes, he has more swing and miss than like a Fetty, Michaelis, or Palante, it's not a ton. Yeah. It's not at the level with even like a Jordan Montgomery in the past or Jose Quintana or certainly what you have right now with Sonny Gray. He's a really solid mid to back end of the rotation starter, and there's value in that. And that brings up the question. You said you wanted to see him get more opportunities. Ollie Marmol said to the media, this is according to John Denton over on Twitter, on Friday that, quote, McGreevy's start won't be a one-off. He should get a more extended look this time around. Still, the driving force behind the promotion was to provide rest to the pitching staff during this stretch of 28 games in 29 days. I think it ended up being 29 games in 29 days now after the rain out, but neither here nor there. I guess this is where I get a little confused. Because I was reading Katie Woo's piece, and we'll ask her about this coming up in the 12 o'clock hour when Katie Woo joins us. But her piece over on The Athletic effectively says Michael McGreevy is probably going to be sent down, and then he'll be called back up in this next stretch of games. Because they'll use, I think it's next Monday, the off day, to reset their staff, and they'll just have a couple of guys go on regular rest this weekend. You can do it that way, but if the North Star for the pitching staff has been, hey, everybody's going to get the 5 days rest. It's going to be every 6 days, not every 5 days. That's going to be the way that we maintain this thing. And to their credit, it's worked thus far, knock on wood. They are one of the teams, I think they're actually the healthiest team when it comes to their pitcher health. A lot of that maybe is good fortune. You have to give some of that, though, to the way that they've managed their way through this situation, and that includes the 6-man. If they send Michael McGreevy down, he will not be eligible to return until the Cubs series, which is on June 23rd. He has to be down for at least 15 days. So you're going to get a couple of turns through this rotation, 2.5 turns through the rotation before you see him again. I don't know that that's necessary, Alex. I would just keep him up, especially for today, to at a minimum find out what Palante looks like today. If he looks terrible again, and you want to stick with your 5-man, to give yourself a little more flexibility with the bullpen, well, then send Palante down tomorrow, keep McGreevy up, have McGreevy take that spot that Palante was expected to start this Saturday against Milwaukee, and then that gives you the flexibility to add that second bullpen arm. My guess is they'll send Swanson down later on today. That gives you one fresh arm, probably Fernandez. He's been great over the last few weeks. You could then have another bullpen arm that's fresh that comes up tomorrow, depending on which of those guys, probably Palante or McGreevy, that you send down. Sending McGreevy down today, to me, doesn't make a whole lot of sense, given the reason that they brought him up was to stick with this 5 days of rest.
And that's the part that I think I'm so confused by. Why all of a sudden, in a matter of 3 days, does it go from wanting to make sure we don't overwork our starting pitchers so we give them a little bit more rest to stick with this and go with 6-man rotation, to now all of a sudden, well, we can make this work with the one off day and we'll just have to have a couple of guys pitch on short days rest. Like, Michael McGreevy deserves another start for how he pitched in that Dodgers game. Frankly, he deserves another start for how he's pitched in the major leagues in the last 2 years. The way that this was viewed by me personally, but then Ollie just kind of added fuel to that fire by saying he's going to get an extended look. This is an internal competition. This is a competition with Palante and McGreevy while you have all of these games with no days off, so that you stick with this 6-man rotation. Make sure that you're not overworking guys like Michaelis or Fetty, because there's no point in that. You are the healthiest team right now. Keep it that way. Don't start overworking guys because you want to go get some more help in the bullpen. I didn't feel like the bullpen was heavily used over this weekend, so why not keep it this way to where McGreevy can start against the Brewers?
It was heavily used on Friday and Saturday. Like, your top guys were definitely used quite a bit on Friday and Saturday night, but by now you should be good because you had yesterday off for most of your top arms. And again, if you have to overuse them tonight, you can make that call. Going into Tuesday's game, you could make the decision on Palante versus McGreevy. Who do you want to stick in your rotation? I think today is a really important day for Palante. At least that's how I view it. It certainly appears that the Cardinals don't agree with my assessment on that. But for me, after what I saw yesterday from McGreevy, that guy is a major league starter. I don't know what it looks like long term, but he looks to be a major league starter right now. And Palante looks the part of a guy that's kind of teetering. Mm-hmm. I don't know right now if he's for sure a major league starter. He's been mostly pretty good since returning to the rotation, but that sinker is not working for him right now. And I think that I'd like to see it today. You got some right-handed bats in this lineup that have been hitting it pretty well. If it goes really poorly, I think you're going to regret not sending him down over McGreevy. So, T-Bone, where do you stand on this?
I'm kind of with you. If they want to send him down because they think they need more bullpen arms, okay. I disagree with that because I think you can just continuously churn through the 7th spot right now in your bullpen and stick with the 6-man rotation for this next turn through, and then you can decide what you want to do from there. But if you are going to operate this way, I agree. I would wait at least to see what Palante looks like today, because today's going to be a pretty good test. I mean, you mentioned it. The Blue Jays are kind of flying under the radar for how well they've been swinging it here of late. So you've got this hot offense that's coming into town. Now, it's no Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman, but it is a very good offense right now. So at least see what Palante looks like tonight before you make this decision, because once you send McGreevy down, to your point, it's 15 days. There is no just taking this thing back. And I think what's interesting, if you're looking for 2 fresh bullpen arms too, by the way, and this is probably flying a little under the radar, I'm in on calling up Fernandez, right? The numbers, at least from what we can see, we know we don't have the publicly available spin rates and all that cool stuff, but he's been good. He threw 32 pitches yesterday. So even if you call up Fernandez, he's probably not available for tonight's game. So then you're going back to some of these bullpen arms that we've seen.
That seems really strange to me.
And the reason I bring that up is because if you were saying, hey, we're going to send down Swanson and McGreevy, and we're going to call up Fernandez and insert other name here, O'Brien probably, I'd go, okay, well, the O'Brien one, like I've seen it, and whatever. But at least Fernandez is here. He was the 29th man, so he should be good. Yeah. But because you don't have Fernandez here, what I'd be seeing is kind of the two guys that we've seen at times already this year, where if you're really looking at that one spot in their bullpen, Swanson, Munoz, O'Brien, guys, Fernandez, Roycroft, those guys have not been that impressive. So I don't know if I want to see 2 of those guys coming up if it's not Fernandez because of this pitch limit from yesterday.
Granillo might be the guy.
I mean, it'd be a 40-man move. And, I'm with you. I'd be in on that move because it's worth trying because he's been pitching so well. The reason I'm a little less opportunistic about it is I know how they operate with the 40-man roster, right? Sure.
Yeah, that might be, if you're looking for a guy that would make some sense right now, if you're not going to, I did not see that, this is on me, I did not see that Fernandez threw last night. That seems really strange, given where they're at right now with their bullpen. They're almost certainly going to have to make some kind of a move. I guess you could go to O'Brien or Roycroft. Those would be the other 2 options. Maybe Granillo. One of those 3 is probably the one that comes up, and maybe 2 of those 3 end up coming up by the end of the day today. All right. Can I give you one cautionary tale from this weekend? I mentioned in the open. So if you're just tuning in and you hear this and you're like, oh, BK's clearly down on the Cardinals, I promise you that is very much not the case. Go back on the podcast page and listen to the open. What the Cardinals did this weekend was amazing. And to watch that take place in person on Friday night, for them to Houdini multiple times with Sonny Gray on the mound, was unbelievable. And it was about pitching in big spots, clutch plays defensively, big-time players coming up in big-time moments. Like, all of that stuff is true. Saturday was more about, like, hot damn, this dude has a horseshoe shoved right up his you-know-what with Eric Fetty, because he's walking the world and he's finding a way to get out of these situations. The Dodgers were a combined 1 for 25 with runners in scoring position on Friday and Saturday. 1 for 25. That is not something you can anticipate happening over the long haul. It's just not sustainable. On Friday, they became the first team this season, the Dodgers did, to have at least 10 hits in a game and record exactly 0 runs. There have been 8 such games, Alex. 10 hits, no earned runs, since 2016. So in the last basically decade, what happened for the Cardinals on Friday pitching-wise has happened 8 times. The Cardinals have done 2 of those, by the way. 10 hits, 0 earned runs. Cardinals were
that is
2
such
of
a
those
Cardinal stat.
8 games in the last 8 years. On Saturday, they became the second team this season, the Cardinals did, or the Dodgers did, to hit at least, to finish with 9 or more hits and 5 or more walks and only score 1 run. The second time this season that that's happened. So Fetty, with the Houdini act, was the second guy to be able to pull that off. Friday, the Cardinals were the first team to do what they accomplished there. Only 4 such games over the past 2 years where you have 9 hits or more and 5 walks or more and 1 or fewer runs. So what you did on Friday and Saturday, it wasn't all that dissimilar in terms of the process from what you saw by the Cardinals against the Rangers. The difference is the Rangers cashed in those runners in scoring position situations. The Dodgers did not. So some of this is like you live with the balls in play and you die with the balls in play. And that's something we all need to acknowledge right now. If we loved it this weekend, we also have to acknowledge the inverse is possible. It could have gone the other way. And it's like an inch difference one way versus the other. If those balls, instead of the one that T-Bone was talking about with Brendan Donovan, if that's not hit right to him and he doesn't make an amazing play and then Winn doesn't have a cannon of an arm going to the other direction, if that doesn't happen, well, different situation that we're talking about right now. If Contreras, and I don't think he was actually on the bag, but if Contreras isn't on the bag when they had that review on an unbelievable play by Winn there as well, different game that we're talking about there. There were a lot of those moments over the weekend. So that is really important context to what we witnessed in this series against the Dodgers. Yes, the Cardinals deserve all of the credit in the world, and also what you did Friday and Saturday on the pitching side of things. That was like the 99th percentile outcome for them, given the way that they pitched over the weekend.
Isn't that why it made it that much more exciting?
100%.
Because 1 for 25 with runners in scoring position, and you know this pitching staff isn't lethal to the point of you're just shutting those guys down. It's why I'm not going to get upset if things go the opposite direction, because it kind of feels like, you and your underlying numbers, like it's alarm bells, like, hey, this is not sustainable. But they're getting it done right now, and I think that's the part that makes it that much more exciting this season.
I think what you just described is exactly why people hate numbers nerds like myself, because I'll tell you, like, what you saw over the weekend is not sustainable, and then people will be like, yeah, but it happened. I watched it, and it was fun as hell to watch. 100%. And none of what I'm saying right now is taking away from what the Cardinals accomplished over the weekend. If this was a playoff series, for example, and it was a 3-game series, guess what? Cardinals won 2-0. It's over. Nothing else matters. The Cardinals series against the Phillies, remember that game 1? Like, that series was a meltdown by the Cardinals. It was also pretty damn unlucky. That doesn't matter, though, because they lost. Like, nobody cares about the percentiles or the odds of that ball being hit to the shortstop or whatever, right? None of that matters. Once the game is played and the action has taken place and the results is in, dude, there is no more expected numbers. It's just, did you win or did you lose? And so that is the backdrop to all of this. But right now, at this point in the season, we're also projecting forward. So none of this takes away from what they accomplished over the weekend. It's just to speak to, if they continue pitching this way, it's a really hard way to sustain. And so there will be a lot of ups and downs and ebbs and flows with it.
And that's the other part for me, too, because you mentioned the Rangers, like that was where it went the wrong direction. But the one thing about this Cardinals team this season is even when those games happen, they stop the snowball.
No doubt.
They stop it from rolling over them and getting bigger. The Rangers series, they find a way to come back. The Royals, you lose that series. What do? They go out there and they beat the Dodgers in 2 of 3. Maybe in not a sustainable way, but this team all season long has found ways to stop the snowball from putting them as a team missing the playoffs.
And I think that is my biggest takeaway from not only the series, but the season, individual games. You mentioned it earlier, Alex, that they're never out of a game. That I'm consistently waiting to be like, okay, what's going to happen where I do have to come on the air and say to myself, like, this is not as good as we thought it was.
Yeah.
Like, there's going to come a point in time, it's almost in the back of my mind, where we have to say that on the air. And yet, every time we get close to that situation, they do something to pull us back in, right? Like they lose 4 straight against New York and they didn't look particularly good. And then they lose 2 out of 3 against the Braves. And it's like, oh boy, here comes Milwaukee. This is the spot. Mm-hmm. This is the spot where it could go in the wrong direction. And then they win the first 2 games of that series. And we're like, okay, they stabilized. Same thing was true right here, right? They have that really rough series against Texas. And then they follow it up with not a great one against Kansas City. At home against the Dodgers. Oh boy, this could be it. And then they go out and win the first 2 games of the series. Whew, okay, they've stabilized. That is something they do inside of a game, inside of an inning, and now inside of a season. Mm-hmm. A lot of credit to them for being able to do that.
Yeah, and they deserve credit for it. I said this in the office earlier, and I think this is kind of what defines the Dodger series is, like you said, best of 3 series, you're moving on, right? Best of 5, are you getting that lucky? Best of 7, are you getting that lucky as time goes on in the playoffs? I don't know. I think their ceiling is higher. I do agree with that. I think it's a very fragile ceiling, though, based on the fact that they are continuing to live on luck, essentially, of, hey, is the ball hit to us or is it not, right? When I think of teams that have high ceilings, typically like the Dodgers, for example, a Dodgers team that has that high of a ceiling, how do you end up beating the Dodgers in a series? You have to outplay them, and it's really hard to do it,
and
right?
Look,
and a little bit of luck involved, too. The Cardinals, it is, hey, when you play the Cardinals, okay, are the ball's going your way? Because they allow a ton of contact. And the question is more of, okay, are we lucky or not in this series? If the answer is yes, you're walking out 1 and 2 or 3 against them.
Sure sounds like Sam Bennett sticking in Florida. We'll tell you the latest on that next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here, the Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Cardinals fell to the Dodgers yesterday 7-3, but they took 2 of 3 from LA over the weekend. And tonight they start a 3-game set with the Toronto Blue Jays. 6:45 first pitch. Jose Barrios will be on the mound for Toronto. Andre Palante will get the start for St. Louis. The Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. CMilano.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Ahead for Marchand. Moving in on Skinner. Marchand is in. He scores. Marchand wins game 2 for the Panthers in double overtime.
That's what it sounded like over the weekend. This series so far has lived up to all of the hype. Game 1 goes to overtime. Oilers find a way to win. Game 2 goes to double overtime. Panthers find a way to win. We're going to Florida with the series tied at 1 game apiece. And Alex, Florida might be where Sam Bennett goes to stay.
Well, he's already there, BK. It's not where he's going to go.
He might be there for like 8 more years, for example. By the way, that audio courtesy of
And
Turner
the state
Sports.
tax thing, right?
This comes from James Myrtle over on The Athletic. Quote, sorry to disappoint any fans of teams that need a center, which honestly feels to be about half of the league right now. But no one I spoke to around the league expects Bennett to be made available. He likes to play in Florida too much, and the feeling is mutual. Assuming that he takes the old discount to remain a Panther, the intrigue will turn to Ekblad and Marchand. Bennett is still likely to cost, at a minimum, $8 million per season, which would leave Florida with about $11 million to replace a number 1 defenseman, a top 9 winger, and a backup goalie to get a full lineup without major subtractions anywhere else. So that big part there, the expectation, according to James Myrtle of The Athletic, who's very tied in, is that everybody thinks he's sticking with Florida on a deal that will be at least $8 million per season. Alex, any surprise here?
Yes and no. A yes to the point of, like, I'm surprised he's not going to test the market, because when you've got $10+ million AAV available to you, like, I don't know how you don't test the market on that. But what's the Greg Wyshynski quote that he told us when we were projecting about potentially Gabe Landeskog? Where is his stuff packed? Because if his stuff's in Florida, that's where he's probably going to stay. And if you're him, I get it. Like, you're looking at what could be another 3 or 4 years of Florida being in the Stanley Cup final. I don't see anybody in the Eastern Conference that can unseat this Florida Panthers team. The core is in place. If you're Sam Bennett, Barkov's there for another 5 years. Kachuk's there for another 5 years. Reinhart for another 7. Verhaeg another 8. So if I'm him, man, I'm set up for the next 5 years of potentially keeping this train moving forward. So, yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Plus, whatever he gets in Florida, which I have to imagine is going to be somewhere between 7 and 8 mil AAV. That's probably 10 mil elsewhere with that state no state taxes.
Yeah, even if it's different, right? Like, let's say that is a true, you're taking a pretty significant discount to stay in Florida. Man, I know everybody operates differently in this regard, but A, don't mess with Happy. Don't mess with Happy. He seems really happy in his current situation. He's playing with Matthew Tkachuk, which has been his line mate for almost the entirety of his career now,
right,
both with Calgary and now eventually with the Florida Panthers as well. And B, dude, you can be remembered as an all-time great, as a playoff performer if you stick in your current situations. Mm-hmm. You could go down as a guy that people remember and talk about 20 years from now. If Sam Bennett instead goes and signs with, I don't know, Columbus or LA or one of these other teams that's like a middling contender, you may go on to have a lot of success elsewhere. He may have more regular season points elsewhere than he has in Florida, for example. I was reading about this from our guy Dom. I actually thought he had a great piece, a piece that had a lot of nuance to it over at The Athletic on the potential contract for Sam Bennett and the pitfalls of it, but also the upside to it. He mentioned, hey, if he goes to another situations, he may get more top power play opportunities, which could boost the production levels in the regular season. Cool, so you're a 60-point producer, probably don't have the same amount of playoff success. Do you know how many 60-point producers there are in the league that don't have a lot of playoff success? That's a dime a dozen around this league right now.
You might not even have a chance for playoff success depending on where you go sign.
Sure, and if you stay in Florida, nobody cares what you do during the regular season. Yep. But you're a hero in the playoffs, and people will be talking about you for that 10, 15, 20 years down the road. So there's value in that, man.
Yeah, there really is. And I mean, again, if you love where you're playing, if you love who you're playing with, and like, again, there's no uncertainty for the next couple of years. This is locked in for the next 5. Like, in this piece, James Myrtle talks about how They've got $19 million the Florida Panthers do, and they'll still have to figure out what to do with Ekblad, what to do with Marchand. But if they give Bennett, let's say, $8 million, it's $11 million to work with a majority of this core. Your top 9 is already locked up. Your top 4 is already set. Your goaltender's set, and the cap's going up. So this is an ideal spot for Florida. But again, a little surprised because typically when you're a guy like Sam Bennett and you're having a playoff performance, you at least test the waters to see like, hey, somebody going to give me $11 million? Like, I'm getting life-changing money for the next 8 years because somebody is desperate enough.
And there's still a potential for that. It's June 9th, and they're still playing hockey, and they're going to be playing hockey for at least another week or two, probably 2 weeks. So even if he immediately started contract negotiations with the Florida Panthers, it's possible he still gets technically to July 1st and he at least sees what's out there.
Right.
And let's be honest, he kind of knows what's out there already.
And you know what the deal is already from the Florida Panthers.
What?
He knows what the deals are out there from other teams
No, that
too,
can't
but
be.
don't
They're
let
not,
anybody tell you
no,
that.
they're not allowed to talk.
That's
till 24 hours
tampering, and that's
before.
illegal.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely illegal.
They don't do that
That's
in
why
the NHL.
everybody knows that they're willing to offer him $10 million and it's getting out to the media.
Look, they only do that in the NFL. They tamper with contracts. They don't do that in professional sports.
All right, last thing here, Alex. Also in this piece, they mentioned the Vegas Golden Knights and kind of what their summer situation looks like. You're never going to believe this. They're interested in Mitch Marner, according to James Myrtle. Yeah, who
That
could've seen
means
it
Mark
coming?
Stone's going to LTIR.
The Golden Knights cap situation this summer is tight. Quote, if they move someone such as William Karlsson, who has a $5.9 million cap hit for the next couple of years, they could make a competitive offer for Marner. Is he a guy that you'd be interested in, William Karlsson?
Yeah, he is. Vegas is now kind of up there like the New Jersey Devils was, the Buffalo Sabres is. That's a team that I'm looking at to seeing what are you trying to do this offseason. We've mentioned Nicholas Waugh. We've mentioned Nicholas Hague. Put William Karlsson into this conversation. 5.9 might seem like a little bit of an overpay if you look at his numbers.
2 years, though.
But it's 2 years, and any centerman you're going to try and sign in the offseason is going to be starting at $5 million. And William Karlsson is a proven performer. Last season, or if BK is going to go all nerdy on me, 2 seasons ago, scored 30 goals for the Vegas Golden Knights. He is a second-line center for them. Now, he got bumped down because Tomas Hertl is there, so Karlsson has been playing third-line center. This guy who scored 40 goals in the NHL. He plays the penalty kill. He can play the power play. He's good at moving the puck. He goes to the front of the net. And the part about this, which I find most intriguing, look for teams that need to salary dump because you don't have to pay much. They need to get rid of 5.9, and if you're a team that can take on all of that, you're going to get scraps from my team, but it helps my team out.
Not a physical guy. That's not what you're getting here, but he can help you. I would definitely be interested. That 30-goal performance does look like a pretty significant outlier. He is more of a 15 to 20 goals is probably what you would anticipate here in St. Louis. Somewhere around like 40 to 50 points.
Yeah.
Dude, I'd sign
That's
up for
a
that
third-line
today as my third-line center. I think that would make a ton of sense for the Blues, especially if you're not having to give up much. 2 years as the term makes all the sense in the world if they're willing to move him. He is 32, so he's getting up there in age. But yeah, 2 years deal. I wouldn't be worried about that whatsoever. It would not be my top option, but it would absolutely be one of the options that I would look into this
I've
offseason.
stated this multiple times here and on the Last Minute Blues podcast. Now the Sam Bennett news is popping out that he's probably not going to hit free agency. Do not spend money in this free agent market. People are going to get overpaid. Go to the trade market.
Katie Wu is the Cardinals insider for The Athletic. She will explain the team's perspective on its move with Michael McGreevy coming up here in about 15 minutes or so. We'll also get her reaction overall to the weekend that was the Cardinals over the Dodgers, 2 out of 3. We'll get some of your reaction as well. Hear from you via questions and answers. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. Questions and answers is coming up next here on BK and Ferrario. It's time to unlock your inner champion. The place to do so is with Victory Men's Health. Check them out today. They have 4 great locations across the St. Louis area: O'Fallon, Illinois, O'Fallon, Missouri, Sunset Hills, and the location that I personally go to in Town and Country. You can check out all they have to offer over at victorymenshealth.com. That's where you'll book your first appointment. Book it today. Put in your name, email, phone number. Tell them BK with 101 ESPN sent you, and tell them how they can unlock your inner champion. That means different things for different people. For some, some, that might mean some weight loss goals that you've been trying to meet on your own. And listen, it's tough, man. It's a really difficult thing to do. Some people really struggle with it. That is, you are not alone in that regard. They can help you out over at Victory Men's Health. They also have a supplement shop. They've got red light therapy programs, cardiovascular testing. I went in there for a micronutrient lab. They also have some options for you with erectile dysfunction, or if you want to get your testosterone levels checked, you can do that over at Victory Men's Health as well. They've got it all for you. Today, they'll help you unlock your inner champion. It's at Victory Men's Health and victorymenshealth.com. At 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. If you guys have any questions, get them in right now. We'll get some questions to Katie Wu coming up here in a little more than 5 minutes. From the 314, guys, what are your thoughts on the Kershaw comments from the weekend about the Matt Adams home run video? Seemed like whining, but him saying he expects it from the Cardinals and them to be Bush League, it does seem like that was maybe be a concern for me when it comes to players in free agency and whatnot. No, had no issues with it whatsoever. I like that Kershaw said this. I like that there seems to be a little bit of a rivalry between the two sides.
Roberts walked off the field after that Nolan Arenado walk-off home run, right? Or he walked out like before it ended. Is that correct?
I'm good with all of this.
Yeah, this is the rivalry that you want. I love rivalry in baseball. I love when teams hate each other. The part that I don't get is like, dude, Kershaw, every time you're in the building, Cardinals play that video. Like, it's the one thing you're known for in St. Louis.
Sure, it is annoying.
Yeah,
but
well, sure. Don't give up the home run, though.
If I'm Kershaw, like my personal comment in that moment, and listen, Kershaw can say whatever the hell he wants to. He's Clayton Kershaw. Yeah, I saw it. They play it a lot. Seems like I had better results today. Boom, good to go. Like, you just crushed the Cardinals. The Cardinals could do very little against Clayton Kershaw yesterday. He's had a whole hell of a lot of success. He's one of the best pitchers of this era. But yeah, I like the comment. I kind of like the needling between the two sides.
Yes, give me more of this. And, like, nobody needs to, like, turn this into, like, Kershaw. Like, I mean, maybe we want to make this a rivalry, but, like, dude, that honesty is what I want in sports. Absolutely. I want guys to do that. So then the other side, because Tony La Russa used to call that poster material, and he hated it. I love it.
From the 314, guys, why is Ryan Vilade playing more than Nolan Gorman? Can't tell you. It's the right-handed bat versus the left-handed bat. Gorman's had some struggles against lefties. I think that they should be playing Nolan Gorman against those left-handed pitchers. I don't think that's going to be a problem now. I think you're going to see more of Gorman, but it also sounds as though Walker is going to be back soon, so it's going to be a very limited runway. I think it tells you all you need to know about how they view Nolan Gorman.
Yeah.
They've tried to tell you with their actions multiple times this season. Every opportunity they have to put somebody else in the lineup that's performing, they always go to that guy over Gorman, including Ryan Vilade. So, yeah.
I'm more upset that it probably should have been Sajaci and Villade's spot than anything else because you had this run of lefties. But at this point now, it probably doesn't matter since Walker's going on a rehab assignment or Luke and Baker too to put in the lineup. But I digress.
Yeah.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. Hey, guys, with Vegas seemingly being open for business if they go after Marner, do you think we should be interested in bringing back Ivan Barbashev? I don't think he makes sense for the Blues because I don't view him as a center.
He's not a center. He took 33 faceoffs last year for the Golden Knights. Like, they've been using him. He hasn't been a center since the last time he was with the Blues. Plus, and this isn't anything against Barbashev, but when you're that physical of a player and that's your status quo, how you play, the wear and tear takes you down a lot faster than, say, a William Karlsson, who isn't a physical player.
I'd be cool with it if the Blues needed a third-line winger, hell, even a top-six winger. Yeah, I would totally look into that. I just don't think he makes sense for what they are looking for this offseason. All right, last one here. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. Guys, is there a trade or a signing that the Cardinals almost made or was seemingly proposed in the last 5 or 6 years that you are now glad did not happen? Yeah, there's a big one for me that immediately
The Juan Soto one?
Nope.
No, are we thinking of the same one?
Giancarlo Stanton?
Oh, I was thinking, I guess this probably wasn't 5 or 6 years ago. I was thinking of the re-signing Hayward.
Sure, that's
probably a little further back. Yeah.
I mean, the Juan Soto one for me is I don't think you're keeping him, and Masyn Winn was a part of that package.
Good point.
And I'm not, like, I know the Walker, the Karlsson, the Gorman, fine. Masyn Winn was a part of it, and Masyn Winn looks like he's the centerpiece of this team.
I miss having these conversations about Gorman.
Would we?
Yeah.
I do wonder what they would have done. Like, had they traded for Juan Soto, I do wonder what their plan would have been.
At shortstop?
Also, you know what? That was 2020.
2 or 3.
No, 23 was a bad season.
Yeah.
That was 21.
Yeah, that was 21.
So the next year you probably don't end up signing Albert
When did
Pujols.
22? I think it was 22.
It was the year he got traded to the Padres.
They had Albert, and we were saying they should go all in.
That's what it was. They did have Albert. Okay.
It was the year that...
Yep, it was 2022.
Yeah, 22.
So then 2023, they probably sell him at the deadline. I wonder what they would have been able to get in return. You know, because like the Padres have made their current version of their team based on those deals. So I don't know. I do agree with you. I'm glad they didn't make the move now, looking back on it, given what came over the next couple of seasons. But for me, the big one is Giancarlo Stanton. They would have been in a really bad spot.
Yeah, but those first couple of years would have been a lot of fun.
Would have been a lot of fun. But he makes a ton of money. You think this Arenado deal's bad?
Yeah.
How about a guy that doesn't play?
Yeah, and that's how the Yankees GM classified him at the winter meetings, I remember.
God, if only you could have got Christian Yelich instead.
Katie Wu, Cardinals Insider, joins us next here on BK and Ferrario. Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, always happy to go out to the Callier and Thompson hotline to be joined by our friend, the Cardinals insider for The Athletic. She's Katie Woo, joining us as she does each and every Monday. Katie, the Cardinals now have a series win this season against the Twins, the Phillies, the Astros, the Brewers, the Mets, and the Dodgers. They are the, I think, fourth best record in Major League Baseball this year against winning clubs, and they just showed it once again over the weekend against the Dodgers. Appreciate the time as always. What'd you make of their series victory against LA?
Guys, are we ready to have a serious conversation this morning?
Absolutely.
We're always ready for that.
Yeah, like they need to start buying for a World Series run?
I mean, yeah, the most 3 serious people that we know. Oh, Tanner too, so 4 serious people. But no, I think it's time to really question, is it time to consider the Cardinals a good team in the National League? Because that's what I think this win over the Dodgers solidified for me. You said it, BK. They've come out. They've beaten the Phillies twice. They beat the Astros. They beat the Mets. They beat the Dodgers. They took 2 out of 3. Had a chance to sweep there. Like, those are all things good teams do. They've hovered over, multiple games over 500 since May. Are they a good team? I'm thinking, and I know we've been burned on this before, but I'm thinking they are.
So you're over your trust issues, is what you're saying, Katie. You're giving them another chance.
Just with the Cardinals.
I'm a sucker for pain, guys.
Amen to that. You put your heart out there, Katie, and it just gets shot down and stomped on when you do it, though.
Katie, I think this is very clearly a good team. I don't know what that means. Like, what does that mean big picture-wise? What does that mean for them once they get into the playoffs? But I have been kind of putting all of these disclaimers out there of, yeah, they're not a World Series contender, all of these different things. Well, I mean, if you can beat the Dodgers in a 3-game series, you can beat the Mets in a 3-game series. You did it twice against the Phillies. Why can't they be an actual contender? I don't think that means they have World Series expectations, but can they win a series or 2 once they get into the postseason? Yeah, I don't see why not at this point. They're capable of that, clearly.
Yeah, that's a great point. I don't think anyone here, even with the Cardinals' surprising success this season, is going ahead and saying, okay, pennant team, right? But I do think that if they keep this up, and they've given every indication that they will, that this is a team that is going to be really exciting in the second half. And you can put the contender label on them. Of course, I would probably wait to do that until after the trade deadline, because I think that will be such a fascinating place for the organization to be as they make those decisions. But if we're just based off the eye test and what we've seen over the first 2.5 months of the season, the Cardinals are a good club, and they're right there with the Cubs, who are also a very good baseball team. And I think as we go throughout the season, I think it will be Cardinals-Cubs going down for the division. And isn't that what baseball should be for the St. Louis Cardinals and the Chicago Cubs? I don't know. I've bought back in. I think that we're watching a contending team. To what degree, I don't know. But they've earned the trust, and they've shown repeatedly that they can go out there and post.
So let's keep going with this thing, Katie, because I think all of us are in agreement there. Like, they are a good team in the NL. Is it possible to make them a great team, or is there no move that would do that for the Cardinals this season?
Good question.
Thanks, man. I got a lot of them.
Great question. Crushing it. That's what makes this so fascinating from a trade deadline perspective, because we all know the primary goal of the season, this objective has not changed, has been prioritize the future. Now, what's happened is the future actually looks a lot more ready to go and ahead of schedule than the Cardinals maybe first envisioned. And you look across the board at a ton of young players, take your pick. But I don't see a version, even if the Cardinals keep up this run that they're on, where the front office and ownership deviates from that completely. I still think that should be the focus going forward. And all season long, we've asked, can the Cardinals balance runway and results at the same time? And it's the early part of the season, we all said no, me included. Now here we are, right again, because they've done it all along, and they've done a very nice job. But can they do that? I think that's the question to ask going into the trade deadline. Can they balance runway and results as Mozeliak navigates the trade deadline? That's what I'm looking at, because I think there is a way to incrementally sell. When I say sell, I mean players on expiring contracts that, could net you a little bit of a boost going into the second half. But as far as like a full teardown or a full all-in buy, I don't see that as a path either. It's just so fascinating to me to see what they do, because the primary objective should still be the goals that they stated at the end of the 2024 season. If they win, though, I'm not sure if there's a huge move that they can add to without completely tearing away from that plan. And I don't think that's what's best long-term for the org.
Careful, Katie. BK's going to get angry.
Yes.
They can't sell.
He's getting angry.
If this is what they are, I should put a disclaimer on here because they could go into tank mode over the next month, and who knows? If this is the kind of team that they are at the deadline, Katie, and they sell off pieces that are helping them right now, like a Phil Maton, for example, a Ryan Helsley, these guys that are on the expiring deals, I think that would be a massive mistake.
And that's what makes it so interesting, because you can go either way. And I would tend to agree with you, because some of these guys on expiring contracts, Steven Matz, Phil Maton, Eric Fetty, Ryan Helsley, have been instrumental in this team's success. So what do you do from there? Or do you just hold and hope that they can keep it running? I don't know. We still have, 6.5, 7 weeks before John Mozeliak has to make a decision. But that's what makes this next stretch coming up so interesting to me, because it will dictate just how difficult of a decision that they have to make at the deadline. And Mo has said all along, he wants to be in a hard place come July 31st. He wants to have to make difficult decisions, because that means the team is playing well. So it's a little early for trade deadline focus, but also not, because I know how this works. And
also,
I think
6 weeks away.
Yeah, Katie, it's never too early to talk trade deadline in Major League Baseball. Spring training, what's going to happen at trade deadline?
I would.
If that happens.
Yeah, that's true. I would like to add a caveat to what I said. You mentioned Fetty's name. He's the one guy that I could actually see the case for this on. It's similar to remember the Yankees, they were in the opposite mode of the Cardinals a few years ago when they decided to sell Jordan Montgomery and they needed a center fielder. So they go out and they acquire Harrison Bader. And Jordan Montgomery was the perfect move for the Cardinals at the time, but he didn't really have a spot for the Yankees long term. I could see a scenario where McGreevy continues to pitch well. Fetty is viewed as kind of this extra piece for you. He is able to net you something that helps more for the here and now and potentially even the future as well. I could see that one, but this gets us to the McGreevy conversation that I know everybody wants to have today. It's what you wrote about over at The Athletic. Katie, can you explain to us what the organization's current view is of McGreevy's immediate future with the team?
McGreevy's immediate future with the team is a depth piece. It's what he was designated as all season long, and we've gone back and forth on this. While I understand why the Cardinals are doing it, because their pitching depth in AAA is so slim, it is disappointing, because I do think McGreevy is obviously one of your top 5 starters. You could maybe even say top 3, though maybe that is an overreaction to the limited sample size that we've seen him in. Regardless, the Cardinals want to see more of him, just only in opportunities that make sense for their overall organizational picture. So will we see Michael McGreevy take another spot start? I firmly believe that we will. The Cardinals have one off day for the rest of the month until July 3rd, actually, and that is 1 week from today. They will not need a spot starter for this next week because of that off day. However, after June 16th, the off day before the Chicago White Sox series, they'll have almost 2.5 weeks without a day off. That's when they'll need another spot starter. We know the Cardinals have been so particular about trying to keep their starters on regular schedule, try to work in an extra day so they're on a 6-day rest schedule when possible. And when you look at pitching injuries across the board, knock on wood, the Cardinals have been one of the very few teams to have not had a significant pitching injury. So clearly that strategy is working. They're going to keep doing that. Again, they can utilize the off day on the 16th. But after that, I would expect McGreevy to make another start. I would also expect some sort of roster moves, if not 1, 2, because I think the Cardinals are going to need to reshuffle their bullpen and add some fresh arms. So right now, we probably won't see McGreevy for the next week or so, and this is just my speculation, but I do think after the off day, I'm looking right around the Cubs series, and he'd be eligible to be back up when they could incorporate another spot start for him.
Is it wrong for me to be a little frustrated with that one, Katie? Because it feels like what we've seen from from McGreevy to last year to this year, and it looks like that he deserves one more start, and you have that opportunity to just keep with this 6-man rotation. And yes, I know it puts more wear and tear on your bullpen, but to see McGreevy get one more start on this stretch of no days off.
I get it, and I understand wanting to just put him in a 6-man schedule or a 6-man rotation. I do understand that sentiment, but then you're playing with you're short a bullpen arm. You have 7 relievers for the next 3 weeks with one off day. Then you're going to blow out your bullpen. And when you think about how good the bullpen has been and how good the Cardinals have been at utilizing the matchups in the spots, you got guys like John King back on track. Jojo Romero looks good. Steven Matz, etc. You can't be without some of these guys for for multiple days. That just makes your life harder, honestly. So that's why the Cardinals are going to probably refrain from a straight six-man rotation and just go with a spot start, because I think everyone in the organization agrees that McGreevy should take another start. They're just trying to do it in a way where it makes the most sense for all parties, and it's not perfect. The strategy here is not perfect. You can argue a couple things either way, but the one that I think shows the least amount of resistance is to have him spot start at the end of the month again. We will see him one more time at least, hopefully twice. But for right now, it's all about trying to make this jigsaw puzzle of pitching work, and this is the only way the Cardinals have been able to do it successfully so far.
So if they end up going that direction, Katie, we're talking to Katie Wu, Cardinals insider for The Athletic. She joins us each Monday here on BK and Ferrario. I would assume Swanson, especially after what he did yesterday, he's going to be down for at least a couple of days, I would think. McGreevy, those two could be the guys that are going down. Is it just O'Brien and Roycroft, and we go back up with those two, or do you think there could be some new names that are thrown into this mix?
It's a good question. What I've been trying to figure out all morning. Unfortunately, I guess people must have lost my number because I'm not getting any responses.
that means something sometimes, Katie.
Yeah, they're hiding it.
Sometimes it does, but we'll see. I know there's been a lot of hype over Andre Granillo down in AAA, but he would require a roster spot. I'm not sure who that would be at this time if they decide to go that way. I would definitely expect, I think you're spot on with Swanson. He threw nearly 50 pitches yesterday, so he definitely probably needs a refresh. And then McGreevy, if the Cardinals do decide to go the way that I think they're going, he would be optioned so they could bring him up as soon as possible for that next second spot start. We'll see, though. The Cardinals usually do roster moves probably in the next 2 hours or so we'll have a better idea of what that bullpen looks like going forward.
Simmer Bursa could go on the 60-day IL. I guess that's...
Why are you trying to just injure guys?
No, he's hurt right now. He's been hurt since late April, so maybe
maybe he's trying to get healthy.
It probably is.
Maybe he's working his
60 already. So.
He's working his way back.
Tommy John?
I think he's did. Yeah, so I think you
Yeah,
can
I
make
think he
that
did.
60-day IL move pretty easily if you wanted to. But
I
there's
apologize.
moves in the future that have to be made then. It becomes this whole thing. The Cardinals will tell you it's calculus. It's impossible to work through a 40-man, even though other teams do it. But here we are.
Really, Tony.
Katie, we appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for hopping on with us today, making us smarter about this team. Enjoy watching a legit contender out there this week. This should be a fun series against the Blue Jays. They've been playing some really good baseball lately.
That's right. A legit contender at Busch Stadium. Who would have thought? Thanks, guys. Have a great week. Always good to talk to you.
You got it. That's Katie Wu joining us as she does each Monday. Appreciate her time as always here on BK and Ferrario. I do wonder what they decide to do with that second arm. I would imagine... Let me present why I do wonder if they maybe go a different direction than just O'Brien and Roycroft. You only get 5 options over the course of the season. They're already getting very low. I think it's one more with Munoz, if I'm not mistaken. I think this would either be Roycroft's third or fourth. I'd have to check that out. But when you go up and down like this, and we're not even halfway through the season, you run out of options pretty quickly. And then eventually, if you send them back down, you have to play the waivers game, and Roycroft would be picked up, man. That guy is somebody that other teams would have some interest in, especially teams that are potentially selling at the deadline. So you have to be a little cautious with guys like that. O'Brien's an easier one. You could just bring him back up, boom, good to go. I do wonder if maybe they put another new name, though, into this mix and potentially just put like a Simmer Bursay onto the 60-day, and then you've got the 40-man spot. You don't have to lose anybody via a move like that. So this could be the type of day where you see a legit fresh arm come up to the big leagues for the Cardinals.
Do you go T-Bone's route? Well, we were texting over the weekend.
Cordia?
Craig Kimbrell.
I would claim him.
But potentially, you lack flexibility then because you can't send him
I
back
could
down.
just DFA him if
Just
he's not
DFA
good.
him
If he's
again.
good, guess what? He's good then.
He's pitched.
I'm fine with
at
that.
least he's pitched in the minor leagues this season, and he pitched 1 inning for the Braves, gave up a hit, a walk, and had a strikeout.
The easy move here is just Fernandez and O'Brien, but Fernandez threw 30-something pitches yesterday.
So he'd be bringing up a guy just to go sit in the
Yeah, so
Let
otherwise just
let
keep
McGreevy
McGreevy.
get his paycheck.
that doesn't make a whole lot of sense
But baseball
either.
is baseball. They only had 7 bullpen arms. TLR knows this. I wonder
Coming
why
up
Katie said
in
I'm not serious.
15 minutes, the voters got it right on Jim Montgomery's Coach of the Year voting. We'll tell you
Maybe.
what that is coming up in 15 minutes. Alex, not mad about this voting here.
BK
Coming up
was
next,
poking
though,
the tiger.
Masyn Winn's importance was on full display over the weekend. We'll see if he even won T-Bone over coming up here on BK and Ferrario.
And he's going to make a play here unless Masyn Winn throws him out. Blocked it in time. Got him. What a play. There's the ground ball. There's one. Winn's throw is going to be in time. On the ground, double play. Tricky hop. There's one. Winn fires to first in time. What a double play. Swing and a shot hit to left. That'll score a run. Birdie's around third and will score. Pa has headed that way. Masyn to second. The Cardinals are on the board. Back to the mound. Bounced off Casparius. Outbound throw off target. Runner coming home. Throw is late. The Cardinals steal a run. Masyn Winn never stopped. And take a look at the speed of Masyn Winn showing up big time.
A lot of credit goes to Masyn for his base running, the way he's playing out there right now. The guy's he's a star in the making.
Pure athleticism and has zero fear. And that's what you want out of a young guy. He's an incredible athlete, and he does not scare. And that's every bit of that play.
That is what it sounded like over the weekend on FanDuel Sports Midwest. Those voices that you heard were Nolan Arenado, whose opinion I certainly trust in this regard, saying that Masyn Winn is a star in the making. You also heard Ollie Marmol talking about his young shortstop as well. Alex, it was an unbelievable weekend for Masyn Winn. The numbers aren't going to jump off the page or anything, but watching the series, you could feel his impact from the start of game one up until the finish of game number 3. Defensively, he was outstanding. A couple of the double play balls that he turned were, he's one of one. He's maybe the only guy in the league. Maybe there's one or two others that could turn some of those double plays. His stolen base was impressive. His dash home was just pure instincts in that regard, combined with the athleticism to be able to do that. Had a double as well. Just a great weekend once again for Masyn Winn. And now you look at it, and the numbers are starting to match the eye test. He is now 15% above league average offensively this year. He is one of the best defensive shortstops in baseball so far this year. And so I looked this up, Alex, yesterday. On the season, 119 WRC plus. For those that aren't familiar, the uninitiated, it's just how good are you offensively. He's 19% above league average. Also top 15 with 6 outs above average defensively. I'm going to give you a list, Alex, of the shortstops, his age or younger, that was as productive offensively as he's been and as good defensively as he's been in the last decade.
Are you going to talk?
There are zero shortstops in the last decade have been as young as him, as productive offensively as he's been this year, and as good defensively as he's been this year. Not a single one of them.
Sure.
Pretty damn good, right? Like, there have been guys that are as productive offensively as Masyn Winn's been. Carlos Correa had a season like this. Francisco Lindor, Corey Seager. There have been a bunch of them. Like, I think it's 10 guys that have been as productive as him at this age. And there have been guys that have been as good defensively as Masyn Winn has been. None of them put together this combination. This is a franchise-level player. I know T-Bone will continue to fight me on this. I will fight to the death on this one. And I'll win on this, T-Bone. I've got length on you. Masyn Winn.
This competition right now.
Okay, Big Bird.
Jeez.
Masyn Winn is a legit franchise caliber player, and you can use any number you want to support that case. You can watch the games. He's a clutch performer. Defensively, he's great. And he has swagger that this team needs. He's awesome. Sign this guy to an extension today.
I'm not going to respond here because he called you small in multiple ways, so I'll let you respond.
I know. First off, every time we talk about Masyn Winn, BK acts as if I hate this guy.
You do.
He's also a great two-hole hitter.
Masyn Winn.
Well, other than when he's hitting the two-hole.
As I always said, he should be a two-hole hitter. But, look, I mean, he was impressive over the weekend.
You've tried to denigrate what he's capable of.
I haven't tried to denigrate. I've tried to just keep the expectations what I think are fair compared to BK. Franchise player. Give him a 10-year contract extension.
I mean, he is a franchise player. We've seen this in 2 seasons now, 2 full seasons now. Yeah. No matter what your argument is, he finds a way to retort it. Like, he's the definition of a Cardinals franchise player.
Absolutely.
He's incredible defensively. He does every little thing right. And I love that quote from Ollie. He doesn't scare. That goes back to the first interview we did with him when he was in Memphis, saying, give me time to adjust to the league, and I promise I will adjust accordingly. And he has done that, whether it's been a slow start at the beginning of the season or he goes through a little bit of a downspout. The dude responds, and then he is there for the long haul.
Also, man, okay, yeah, so you don't want him to be this franchise player. Shortstops are franchise players, generally speaking, and this guy's a damn good one, and the Cardinals have not produced that in, 30 years. So Yeah, I'm willing to put that kind of label on it.
Any retort there, Tiny T-Bone?
No,
Tiny Timmy.
I don't like all the names I'm being. I've got Unserious from the Katie Woo, the Wooster. I've got Tiny T-Bone. Big Bird thinks he can fight me for some reason. Look, Masyn Winn had a great weekend.
What happened on Friday when I was gone?
Nothing. That's what's wild.
It was a good show. We had a good show.
Yeah.
We had a good one.
I guess it's me.
I really like Masyn Winn's game, and I do think he is moving there towards contract extension eligibility for me, because I like what we are seeing from him and how he is keeping his offensive production up a level, right? This is one thing that we continuously have seen with some of the latest Cardinals prospects, which is, hey, one really good year, and then what the hell happened? Baseball figured you out. And Masyn Winn hasn't just kind of stayed put at 2% above league average. He's gotten up to, as you mentioned, at a 116 OPS plus. He's getting on base at a better clip. That's what's changed for him this year, and he's hitting for average. I still think he can grow into a little bit more power, and he's still playing that Gold Glove level defense. That's why I agree with you guys are saying. I think he is what you said I think is perfect. He is a superstar for the St. Louis Cardinals, a face of the franchise for the Cardinals. Where I get to a difficult spot with him is, okay, I agree with that, but is he going to get to another level to get into that superstar category?
But that's okay.
And I was like, does that matter for this team? Like, yes, you need that guy, but can't you find that guy elsewhere?
Can they? This would be my question. Where are they getting that guy?
It might be Ivan Herrera's bat. Like, you might have to piece this thing together. You're kind of Frankensteining it, right? Masyn Winn's defense can be superstar caliber. Ivan Herrera's bat can be superstar caliber. And when you have all of these things put together, you could be a really good contending team. Now, will they go get that guy, the Kyle Tucker, right? The superstar, brings everything to the table. By the way, it's worth mentioning right now, T-Bone also previously said that Kyle Tucker's not a superstar.
We have gone through why I made that comment.
God, he is just driving over and then reversing it and driving over and reversing it.
In all seriousness, you can win this way, man. You can win this way. It's harder. It is absolutely harder. But it's the same thing as the Blues. The Blues do not have a true superstar on their roster right now. They don't. They cannot go toe-to-toe with the Florida Panthers or the Edmonton Oilers or the Colorado Avalanche. Hell, even maybe you could argue the Minnesota Wild with Kirill Kaprizov. They don't have that guy. But could they beat any of those teams in an individual series if they get the right player in the middle six forward-wise for them this offseason? I think yes. They're pretty damn close to beating Winnipeg in that series. So, yes, they can. And I think you can do it as well in baseball. It's hard.
Yeah, I was just
not an easy way to build, but building the way that the Cardinals do in a smaller market that outperforms this market, that's always going to be hard if you're unwilling to tank. So they've got to find their lane. I think they have found it. And Masyn Winn, to me, is a huge part of this. Brendan Donovan, a huge part of this. I think you are starting to put together the pieces that are necessary in order for you to take that step from good to great. And don't look now, but J.J. Weatherholt is dominating at AA, man. Dominating. To the point where I think we'll probably be talking about him in AAA sooner rather than later. And his ETA might be 2026. And if that ends up being the case for him at some point, whether that's opening day or August, whatever it ends up being sometime in between, dude, you're starting to continue to add to this core group of players, and Masyn Winn being chief among them.
Just to kind of echo what you said, like, this is a very hard way to build. And like we talk all the time, like pack mentality is hard to build in hockey. That's true, but hockey is such a team role sport. Baseball is all about individuals. So, like, it's very difficult if you don't have that superstar that T-Bone labels as a superstar as the face of the franchise. But sometimes teams just can't find them, and you have to build accordingly. And it does feel like the Cardinals are at least attempting to do it, because when you talk about Herrera's bat and Donovan's all-around play, including his bat this season, and then with Masyn Winn's leadership ability, it seems like, on top of his Gold Glove defense and multiple other ways he impacts games, you can do it if you find 4 or 5 guys like that. And then at some point, yeah, you probably do need to find a way to push yourself over the edge. But does that come in a bat, or does that come with the starting pitcher? Does that give you the edge that other teams don't have?
And to that point of how hard it is and where the Cardinals are in terms of as a organization and how they have to build this forward, that's why I am someone that is very cautious with contract extensions, right? Because when you are in a spot of the Cardinals, you don't have the wiggle room to be wrong. And I'm not saying they would be wrong on the Winn one. I actually think the Winn one they can potentially be right on, because I do like the fact that we are continuing to see growth on him. And it's why I'm getting closer to saying, okay, I'm on board if they decide to go with a contract extension toward him. But that is where some of my hesitancy comes, because when you're talking about contract extensions from the St. Louis Cardinals perspective, I think it almost has to be more on, okay, do we think this guy can develop into the star, right? That's why I was in on Jordan Walker after year one. Now, I'm glad they didn't do it, because that one looks like it would have been a flop of a contract extension. That's where I'm having just a tough time deciding on Masyn Winn. Is I agree, he's a really good player, face of this franchise player. I like what he brings to the table. I'm just trying to figure out where I'm placing him on my totem pole when it comes to where you decide to what level you want to say he is. Superstar, star. Where's he at? I think star's probably where you're at. Yeah. And then I have a tough time deciding, okay, do I extend that guy, right?
That's the fork in the road moment. I think we're all in agreement for the most part on the quality of Masyn Winn. I can give T-Bone a hard time about it, but I think we all agree roughly with where he's at in the pecking order of Major League Baseball's great players. He's a very good one, and he's a star talent. The question then is, how do you value that? What is the value of a star? Not a superstar, but just a star-level player. And that's ultimately what the Cardinals are going to have to decide. And I think they probably have to decide that at some point within the next 18 months or so.
Agreed.
Because that's really when you could get something like this done, because that allows you to get the runway of, hey, this is guaranteed, like, big-time money, and you're not hitting the arbitration process yet, where you already will then have what is the closest thing that you can get at that point in your life to guaranteed pretty significant money for a guy that is putting up the numbers that Masyn Winn is. His wins above replacement numbers, nobody wants to talk about this, and I understand, like, Carrie's immediately turning off his radio right now. But
he's mad.
I don't blame
you know how guys get paid in arbitration? War.
It's not good for anything.
That is a metric that the teams and the players will absolutely cite, and his is pretty damn high. You look at where he ranks. He's top 50 in Major League Baseball in WAR over the past 2 seasons combined. This guy's going to get paid in one way or another. That's what Dansby Swanson, that's what got him paid. It's what eventually Masyn Winn will end up getting paid for as well. He's Alex T-Bone on BK. In 15 minutes, we're going to dive into the junk drawer. But next, the voters got it right. Jim Montgomery finished top 4 in Coach of the Year voting. We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Cardinals fell to the Dodgers yesterday 7-3, but they took 2 of 3 from L.A. And tonight they welcome in the Toronto Blue Jays as they start a 3-game set. 6:45 will be first pitch. Jose Barrios will be on the mound for Toronto. Andre Palante will get the start for St. Louis. And tonight here on 101 ESPN, you can hear Game 3, the Stanley Cup Final between the Panthers and the Oilers. And we'll have pregame coverage starting at 6:30 with puck drop at 7. The Sports Center is driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. CMLauto.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. So Alex thinks they got it right. Was a little surprised by this.
Somewhat.
Okay. Get your Stephen A. Smith voice going. Blues coach Jim Montgomery finished 4th in the Jack Adams voting this season. He got 2 first-place votes. He did also have 5 second-place votes and 13 third-place votes. The coaches that were ahead of him. Spencer Carberry, he's with Washington. Everybody knew he was winning Coach of the Year this year. Scott Arniel, who's smug, and he coaches for Winnipeg. They won the President's Trophy. He finished 2nd in the voting. Martin St. Louis with the Montreal Canadiens. He finished 3rd, and then Jim Montgomery 4th. Dean Evison with the Columbus Blue Jackets. He finished 5th. We all know they have one of the best defensemen in the NHL. Alex, were you surprised at all to see Monty 4th? Is that about where you thought he would be?
It's about where I thought he was. I really think you could make an argument for him to be 3rd. This is why BK put it in here, to see if I would just Stephen A. Smith it. He was poking the bear to see if I woke up, and I didn't here, because as much as I think Jim Montgomery probably should have been 3rd place votes, Montgomery was only there for 61 games, and Marty St. Louis was there for the entirety of the season with Montreal, and Montreal was a team that wasn't expected to be in the playoffs. They got by, and they made it in on that last spot. I guess my argument of why Jim Montgomery probably should have been 3rd was in a smaller sample size. He did a lot more than what Marty St. Louis did in the entirety of the season, and in my opinion, the Western Conference is a lot more difficult to make it to the playoffs than the Eastern Conference. But it was 3/4 of a season for Jim Montgomery versus an entire season for Marty St. Louis. I think he probably should have been 3rd because St. Louis was significantly better in every category than what Montreal was last year, and they were 5 points better. But, I mean, I think you're splitting hairs in this one. In fact, I think this is a massive honor for Jim Montgomery to be 4th on that list, because Dean Evison was behind him, and Dean Evison was 2 points out of a playoff spot with the Columbus Blue Jackets and was there all season.
He was 4th on Coach of the Year, and he was fired. Like, think about that for a second. In the same year that Jim Montgomery was fired, he finished 4th in Coach of the Year voting. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I think it gives a ton of respect to the job that he was able to do this year in St. Louis. I probably would have had him 4th if I had a ballot as well, which means I wouldn't have had him on my ballot because you only get to vote for the top 3. What?
That's not the point, Brandon.
The blasphemy, the unmitigated gall.
God, it's not the point.
I
He should have gotten more votes in the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, which would have moved him up in the rankings. That was my point on Thomas.
Can we talk about JR's fan survey questions?
Oh man, if you do to me what you did to T-Bone that last segment, we will fight.
I will not. I will never do that to you again,
Look,
Alex.
I'm pretty sure I can take them. I know both of us can take them. 2 on 1.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's get to some of these. So this is available for Blues fans over at The Athletic. It's Jeremy Rutherford's fan survey. It's basically an exit interview for the 2025 season. Want to go through some of these, get your perspective on them. Start with this. Was the Blues 2025 season a success? Yes, beyond my expectations. Yes, but the Game 7 loss to Winnipeg put a damper on it, or some variation of no?
I'd love to see if somebody did the variation of no. I would have that one is the 3rd or the 1st one. Yes, beyond my expectations.
Where I'm at as well.
I didn't expect them to be a team that got to Game 7 and 1 goal away from making it to the 2nd round.
I'm with you guys.
All right, let's go to the next one. What was Doug Armstrong's best move for 2025? Hiring Jim Montgomery, signing Holloway and Broberg to offer sheets, trading for Cam Fowler, or moving on from Brandon Saad?
Oh, poor Saad.
I can't wait to do the podcast with Jay Aragon, just doing it dirty there. This might surprise people, but my answer is hiring Jim Montgomery.
I think that's a more than reasonable answer.
I mean, I know everybody is going to go to the Broberg and Holloway, but I don't know if Broberg and Holloway are what we think they are unless you have the right head coach in place. And if you don't hire Jim Montgomery, I don't know if you're getting a Jim Montgomery in this offseason. So that's That would be my number one decision.
And it was not a popular decision with everybody. Trust me when I say that.
Trust me too.
Fire Drew Bannister and bring in Jim Montgomery. There were a lot of people that pushed back very heavily against that, whether that's with the Blues organization or outside. It wasn't just fans that were opposed to that. Signing Dylan Holloway and Broberg, to me, though, it's one of the moves of the decade for the NHL. And hiring Jim Montgomery, you just gave a great case for it, Alex. Mm-hmm. Just make the simple case for Holloway and Broberg. These guys could be stars.
Yep.
Got two potential star-level players, 23 or younger, for a 2-year deal, and now you have their RFA rights as well, so you basically got them for 3 years guaranteed, locked in, no matter what. Even if they want to go to arbitration against you, cool. I don't need to say too much more. That, to me, it might be the best move that he's made in his career with the St. Louis Blues, and he did it last offseason.
I mean, honestly, and I know this answer isn't on there, the answer should be all of the above, which is why Doug Armstrong should have been a finalist for Executive of the Year. And he didn't make that list with Jim Nill, Cheveldayoff, and Bill Zito. In my opinion, Doug Armstrong should have been on that over Kevin Cheveldayoff.
What did Bill Zito do? I'm being serious. I know that sounds ridiculous.
He got Brad Marchand and Seth Jones at the trade deadline, and both, Seth
moves.
Jones, that's $7 million versus he was a $9.5 million player.
Good moves.
Well, what did Kevin Cheveldayoff do at the deadline? What did he do to his team this season?
Well, fair.
He didn't do anything to his team. Is exact same team as last year. They just won the President's Trophy.
I agree with you.
Yeah, that's the part that really grinds my gears. Like Doug Armstrong, we just listed 4 moves that he did that made this team what they are. That all could be argued as the best move he made this season. Frankly, one of the best moves in the NHL. And Kevin Cheveldayoff, who sat on his hands this season with Winnipeg, gets the finalist vote.
All right, next thing up here. What should be the Blues' number one priority this offseason? Option A, re-signing Holloway and Broberg to extensions. Option B, exploring a Kyrou trade before the no-trade clause kicks in on July 1st. We're only 3 weeks away from that, by the way. Option C, signing or trading for a top 6 forward, preferably a center. Or option D, trading one or both of Falk and or Leddy. So re-sign Broberg / Holloway.
Trades.
Trade Kyrou. Get a top 6 forward or get rid of Falk or Leddy. Which one should be the number one priority?
Mine would be option C.
Same.
Trade for the top 6 forward, specifically a centerman. All of those other things, 2 of those other things I don't even think you need to worry about. The other one, meaning explore an extension, we talked about this last week. I'll worry about that later on. Get the top 6 forward.
Yeah.
We're all in the same group there.
I think you could even extend that to like a top 9 forward. If you got a third, to me, you have to just upgrade at center, whether that's second or third line.
Next thing up, speaking of those forwards, if the Blues could sign one of these pending UFA forwards, who would you choose? Alex, you cannot choose none of the above. That is not an option. You have to choose one of the 4 options. I'm saying that out on the front end.
Don't tell me what to do, Brandon.
Option A, Mitch Marner. Option B, Sam Bennett. Option C, he says one of these centers. John Tavares, Michael Granlund, or Pius Suter. Or option D, one of these wingers. The options are Ehlers, Marchand, and Besser. So which of those 4 choices, Marner, Bennett, one of the centers, or one of the wingers, would you choose?
Mine would be C, John Tavares, and it's only John Tavares.
Okay.
I'm not doing any of those other guys. If I can't have Tavares, then I'll go to Bennett. And if I can't have Bennett, none of the above.
Could I get you interested in Ehlers?
You'd have to trade one of your wingers on this team to go get the centerman. And I think the only wingers that I'd be okay with you trading off of this team would be Kyrou or Buchnevich. Because I'm not going to trade any of these young guys.
Bolduc?
Why would I trade Bolduc, who's the entry-level contract, for a guy that's going to cost me $8+ million?
Okay, just curious. I mean, ask and answer.
And I know, I'm just, that's the way I would view it.
I agree with you.
If I could trade a Kyrou or a Buchnevich to go get Ehlers, then to me, I'm getting rid of something and bringing something different in. But it's a lateral move that I don't think makes you any better.
Yeah, I would go option C here as well. Tavares would be my number 1 on there because it's going to be a short-term deal, still has offensive upside. I like Suter as well, Pius Suter there. I think he would work out great for it. He screams a blue. I know the term on that will probably be longer than you want. To me, he screams like the perfect blue. And I actually don't mind Granlund. I had interest at the deadline. I know someone like that contract that he's going to get. I think all 3 of those guys would be great options for them.
All right, last one here. If the Blues sign UFA in 2026, Cam Fowler, to an extension when he's eligible, which term length would you be most comfortable with? He's 33 years old. Would you give him 2, 3, or 4 years, Alex? Or more than 4?
Does he have any AAV on there?
No.
No.
Just term length, what would you be willing to give to Cam Fowler?
I think I would go 2. I'm going to go as few of years as possible. Like, I would prefer a year to year, but he's not going to want to do that. I'd go 2 years, take you up to 36, and then from there you can go year to year.
Agreed.
3 scares me because you're talking 37.
I would disagree with you on this, but yeah, agreed. 2 years.
Sometimes they make great cases.
I'm willing to push to that third year because I think defensemen age pretty gracefully. So I'm willing to go to that third year. That's the max. So I would not go 4 or 4
And I wouldn't be upset with a 3.
Well, but it's 4 years because you already have him under contract for another year. That's what makes me nervous.
I'm fine
So
with that.
37-year-old Cam Fowler, you feel good about it?
I mean, I just watched 40-year-old Ryan Suter play.
I also just
very
watched
different styles.
Sure.
I watched a 40-year-old Brent Burns play some pretty good hockey too.
And he's that style, more of that style, I should say.
And Jay Bomeister was 37.
I watched Alex Pietrangelo this year, who looked really good a couple of years ago, and his body is breaking down to the point where Elliot Friedman on his most recent podcast said he's not sure how much longer he's going to play hockey.
Come on, man.
I know we talk about this every
Read between the BS of the Vegas Golden Knights. It's called LTIR exploitation, and Petro will be ready to go by the playoffs.
You're unbelievable.
Marner's here, guys. Petro, who knows when he's going to play? Oh, my gosh, Petro's going to play!
Oh, my God, he looks like an Norris candidate.
He looks like he's been rusting all season.
That would be amazing. If that's where this is all headed, that would be amazing.
That would be amazing because the CBA negotiations are probably going to get done in the next month or so, and they're not going to fix the LTIR, and then Vegas is like, gotcha!
Well, they won't be fixed for next year no matter what.
Well, I guess that's true.
Coming up in 15 minutes, is this weekend what we can reasonably expect from Nolan Arenado moving forward? And if so, what does that mean for the Cardinals in the big picture? We'll talk about that in 15 minutes. The Junk Drawer is next here on 101 ESPN.
Alex Ferrario with you to tell you about my friends out at Rhino Shield, Darren and his team that are giving houses, businesses, the exterior facelift that they need. And so many people, me included, have trusted Rhino Shield's work to come out and change the outlook of their home with their ceramic coating process. But Darren sent me a picture over the weekend of one of these historical buildings that was out in University City that called up Rhino Shield to do the work. And this was a house that, as I mentioned, had that historical setting there, but they did the entire process and changed the outlook of it. They clear coated the decorated bricks and the stucco and sills, and now it looks brand new after being over 100 years old. So whether you've got an older home like that, an older business, or maybe it just needs a new look, call Rhino Shield today. It's a ceramic coating process. It sticks 8 to 10 times thicker than paint. It's 100% waterproof and deflects 90% of the UV rays, and you get a 25-year transferable warranty, a coating of a Rhino, thanks to Rhino Shield. 877-25-RHINO. Just tell them Alex Ferrario sent you. 877-25rhino.com.
We had a lot of choices today for the junk drawer. We have decided to talk about my experience on Friday night at the ballpark. Alex, I have never experienced anything quite like it. It was Luka's first game this year. Last year, he's still 1 year old. There's only so much that they can really experience at a ballpark at that point. Now he's understanding what's going on. It was unbelievable. It is the greatest experience that I think I have ever had going to a game like this. We had the delay because it was raining. We got there a little late. Parking situation was pretty crazy.
Surprise! Because being late?
We get in probably 30 minutes before the actual first pitch was thrown. And we immediately go up to the Budweiser Terrace. Those $5 beers, $5 hot dogs, $6 margaritas. We did get like 6 hot dogs. Luka immediately devoured one of those things.
That's a baseball fan right there.
He was all in on the race. There was a cow in the race on Friday night, and he didn't know where the cow went.
Race
in the outfields where they
drew during the
gotcha.
In between.
He was very upset that the cow wasn't coming back onto the field. Thought that he should just be out there with like the players.
I'd have put him at second base.
Could do some kind of banana ball stuff with that, I guess.
I don't know what banana ball
the
is. It sounds weird.
Fireworks scared the hell out of him.
I'm surprised you made it to the fireworks.
Dude, he was awake until the 8th inning. Now, some of that is bad parenting on my behalf. He was awake until like 10:45 p.m. Probably not what you want on a Friday night.
It's not bad parenting. It's a child experience. Let them enjoy it.
Have you taken your kids to a game recently?
Not this year. So we took them last year. I think we've taken Adelaide at least once every year since she's been alive. Last year we did Emma, and Emma was like 1.5. But we haven't gone this one because 3 kids is just not a good idea to go to a ballpark with. If you're outnumbered, I can't go to the ballpark.
I will say, the Budweiser Terrace, like, I can understand where some people are probably like, BK, there's a bunch of beer over there. Fair enough. We can talk about that another day.
That's what I was honed in on, where he was like, we were there with Luka, and I said, first thing, let's go get $5 beers.
Yeah.
That's the first thing we did. It was $5, man. What are you going to do?
Not drink one of them? Oh, yeah.
It's Friday.
That Budweiser Terrace area where they've got all of the benches, it's perfect for a kid. He was able to just like play with his cars on the bench for a little while. We could go back and forth with that. It was honestly a great experience for a kid. Somebody on the text line from the 636 says, a Lions roar or Friday night baseball? What wins? Oh, man. That's a tough one. Seeing the Lions roar in person.
I remember when he said that was the most magical experience he's ever had, and I'm like,
I thought that was like a play that they're like making reference to like take a kid to.
No, that's a fan of this show though, because that's like almost a 2-year-old reference right there. But
Friday night probably wins out, but I got to tell you, it's close.
It's the same thing you can experience every weekend, man.
What?
The Friday night baseball
Yeah, but it was
game.
my first time really experiencing that. It was my first time seeing through Luka's eyes what it was like to go to that event. Special, man. A boy and his father going to a baseball game. What's more American than that? It's amazing. T-Bone, you had
with
something about
$5 beers?
The whole time Luka's like, Daddy, why do we have to wait in line for beer?
So I went to the ball game, I think on Thursday, the day before you did on Friday. Guys, you ever had the experience? It was kind of one of those BK moments where BK, like, when they bring your food wrong, you don't like to say anything because it's kind of uncomfortable. I was dealing with the old seat bully while I was at the game.
The seat bully?
You've never dealt with the seat bully? Now, you got your seat, and you got the 2 arms, right? Armrest to put your arm on. Well, this guy was sitting. So first of all, when we get there, he's sitting in one of our chairs, and it was just because like he thought we weren't there. We got a little bit. We were late too, so he thought, okay, we can spread out.
What is with you guys are not getting there on time?
He moves. I'm not gonna get into it. It was service down by Ballpark Village, but we get there, and I say, hey, this is our seats. He says, oh yeah, no problem, my bad, and he just slides over. But when he's sitting there, he's like chicken winging out his arms, and his arm is like into my side.
Can I ask a follow-up?
I actually disagree with that. You get the right side.
This.
That's trash. This is my seat. I get both sides.
Well, then
we share the one side. We share.
And again, I don't even care about that. The fact that the problem was that he's like halfway in my I'm sitting in half my seat.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
Was it a larger gentleman?
Yes.
It's a fair question.
I mean, then that's what you got to live with.
Still, it was avoidable, right? It's a difference when you're sticking your elbow out like this.
You're a little in my space.
I know, but then I felt uncomfortable.
You know what you
about
do? You
it.
look at him and you say, "This is my side of the chair. We're gonna have a problem tonight."
Did you guys have good tickets?
No, they weren't great seats.
Were they like up high?
Third deck.
Okay,
but like,
then go over to the Budweiser Terrace.
No,
this is on you. You said it's Thursday night?
No, that's trash. That's
maybe
my
20,000 people in
That's
attendance.
trash. That's my seat.
Listen here, Brandon. I don't like the whole chicken wing thing, right? Because it's not like it just happened. Like he kept it there. I felt it for me. I was like, okay, he's gonna like see. Oh, sorry, my bad. No, he like kept it there. Like, come on, man.
Yeah,
that's
when
the
you
seat
turn.
bully. That's a seat.
No, look, if there's people, like if it's crowded row, you don't get any armrest. You sit there with your arms in your lap.
No, man.
Again, he can have the armrest. Just don't bring your elbow into my rib cage.
You should put it back.
That's not the way you should operate, but he did. And so you have two choices. Either deal with it and don't say anything, or say something.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be upset about it, this is my thing with the food, right? I can't be upset if I don't tell them that I got the wrong food.
He's right. You got to say something. If you're going to get mad, you got to say something.
Yeah, you can't be mad and also not say anything. That's on you.
Oh.
You're the one that has to say something in that scenario.
Or you fight him back and you just kind of push yours towards his rib. And
if you also want to respond to his jerk nature by being a jerk,
this is common
go for it, dude.
sense.
That's on you.
Common sense, right? Don't be the seat bully out at an event.
It's also common sense that if you're going to get upset about it, you have to say something.
No, I shouldn't even have to say something about it.
Or you play seat bully. Those weren't even his seats.
Or move. If you're upset about it,
no,
move.
he was right in his seats.
Oh, okay.
When we got there, he was sitting in
spread out.
ours because he was spread out a little bit.
Yeah. I think when it's tight, you're supposed to not use the armrest at all. You keep it to yourself.
Sure, that's fine. But again, it all comes
Just
down
make
to
sure we're all on the same page about seat
T-Bone's in the
courtesy.
wrong here because he was too much of a pansy to say anything.
Do you recline your seat on an airplane?
No.
And he just called you a pansy, by the way, which is fantastic.
People that do that are bad people.
The recline
if you
the
take
seats?
your shoes off, or if you recline your seat, you're a bad person.
If you take your shoes off, or if you
It should be, again, just like this, it should be common courtesy because that's in the wrong, just like doing the chicken wing.
You know the one that really pisses me off, and this doesn't happen because I don't go there very often anymore, but when I used to go to the movies all the time, the people that would put their bare feet on the seats.
Oh.
You are a
the
filthy
movie theater?
individual.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
never seen that before.
Take their shoes off,
seen
and then
it.
they put their either bare feet or their socks up on the seat. You're a filthy individual.
He's Alex. That's T-Bone. I'm BK. Is this weekend what we can reasonably expect from Nolan Arenado moving forward? We'll talk about it here in BK and Ferrario.
Alex Ferrario here to talk about my friends over at Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers, the real deal for real deals since 1976. You can let Dobbs' team of 600-plus tire technicians and auto service associates care for your family's vehicle, whatever vehicle you drive, whether it's gas hybrid. Those locations all over town, they'll help you choose the tires that you need, already sold at the lowest prices in town, guaranteed. And it'll help your family budget because out of check Dobbs' Money Saver June deals for new tires, including savings deals for up to $200 off top brands like Continental, Michelin, BF Goodrich, and Pirelli tires over at gotodobbs.com. When the most locations around, including their newest stores in O'Fallon, Missouri, and in Osage Beach, that's the Lake of the Ozarks, full-service tire and auto services have never been more convenient. So make sure you let the tire and service pros over at Dobbs take care of your family's vehicles before the warm weather really hits in. And be sure to check out Dobbs' money-saving deals for June at gotodobbs.com. Dobbs, the real deal for real deals since 1976.
Little pop. Nolan on the run. Still coming, still coming. Hey, makes a basket catch. What a play by Arenado. And a big fist bump from Sonny Gray. Swing and a high, towering fly ball to left. That ball's going to get down, and the Cardinals are going to win it. Arenado walks them off. It's a 2-1 Cardinal winner.
Nolan Arenado had a heck of a weekend for the St. Louis Cardinals. Won you a game, played some good defense, overall really successful, but he didn't have a whole lot of power to be shown for it. In fact, if you look back, man, that's been the biggest issue for Arenado recently. Over his last 10 games, he has exactly one extra base hit. He's not hitting for any slug, Alex. His swing, though, looks like it's in a better place than it has been for much of the season. If you just look at the overall success, he's putting the ball in play a lot. He's hitting for average. He's getting on base. Is this what we can reasonably expect from him? Is Arenado done with his slugging days, where he's probably not going to be a 25-plus home run guy, but he can get you 15 to 20, he can hit for a decent amount of average, and he can still have those clutch moments? Is this what we should be accepting of where Nolan Arenado is at in his career, Alex?
Absolutely, because I think we've officially hit the point where you're kind of crossing over each other to where there's other guys on this team that are viewed as you're supposed to be the power bat. I think Wilson Contreras should be exhibit A for that. Nolan Arenado is at that point now where we have seen multiple years of the power is just not there anymore. And there's no hope for it to come back. He's not a 30-plus home run hitter. He's not even a 20-plus home run hitter. But Nolan Arenado can still have an impact on this team. It's one, because they've taken him out of that 4-hole spot, so now you're using him in a different spot in your batting order. But two, man, excel at having elite defense at third base, which you saw over the weekend against the Dodgers, and come up with some clutch hits, whether it's a home run early in the game or if it's a single in extras. If you're impacting the team in some way of winning baseball games, that's all that matters. It sucks that he's making $30 million, and it's a really brutal thing to have at your cap hit. But you're in this spot. If he can help you win while other guys are making very little money because they're young players, then it should cross over at the perfect time when his time is up in St. Louis.
Arenado and Pedro Pages basically have the same role for this team. I know how strange that sounds. And if I told you that coming into the year, we would have all had a lot of follow-up questions on why that's the case. Specifically, why is Arenado now a bench bat? Would have been my first question, because that was supposed to be Pedro Pages' role for the Cardinals in 2025.
I never believed he was going to be on the bench.
But they are both below average hitters, and they are both excellent defensively. And you can have a couple of those guys in the lineup. We've talked about this for years on this show. You can get away with probably two guys that are below average hitters that are truly in there for just their defense. But you have to be supported by big bats, basically 1 through 6. You've got to have all well above league average hitters, 1 through 6 in your lineup if you're going to construct things that way. Arenado is somebody that is a lot of the time in that like 5-6 spot in your lineup, so it's not perfect in terms of the lineup construction, but you can make this work, man. Because you do have Nootbaar, who is not perfect, but he's getting on base at a really high clip. Donovan, who is basically perfect. Wilson Contreras, who's been on an absolute tear. Masyn Winn, who's been fantastic for you offensively this year. Did you guys know Alec Burleson's batting .296? Did you know that?
I did not.
It feels crazy because he was off to such a weird start to the season, but he is basically right back to where he was in the first half of last season. That's the Alec Burleson that we're getting. So that is a great piece to your offense. And I have not yet mentioned Ivan Herrera. So you have 7 bats that you consistently can rely on in your lineup, and that allows you for this flexibility with a guy like Nolan Arenado. He's overpaid. This is not what you hoped that you were going to be getting in 2025, but he's helping you win. He is contributing towards the winning, and for me, that's all I can ask for from Nolan Arenado right now. He seems to be in a good place mentally. The guys seem to enjoy being around him right now, and on the field, he's contributing enough to where I don't feel like on a day-to-day basis he is a massive liability for you. He's contributing in winning ways.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And look, like there's no sugarcoating it. He's not a $30 million player, but you have to live with that at this point. I mean, he's got the deal, but he plays to what their identity is, right? If he's going to be a guy that's going to contribute, at least he's contributing to what the identity of the team is, which is elite defensively. I mean, he's playing like a gold glove, even a potentially platinum glove winner over there at third base. And to your point, like if he's offensively a guy that just kind of hits for average, no power, he's doing that in the 6th spot, that's okay, right? Because then what I should be saying is, okay, did 3, 4, and 5 do their job? And if they did, they're probably on base, and Arenado might be able to single them home with a hit. And he's come up in the clutch a couple times. He's very good with runners in scoring position so far this year. Like, I have no issues with Nolan Arenado. I think he's playing to what my expectations were this year, which was going to be a guy who's going to be around league average. He's at 91 or 92 OPS plus right now. That's kind of what I expected from him coming into this year. I was not one of those that was going to believe he was going to have that bounce back season.
I thought he might. I thought maybe there was something more left in the tank there. I think there's just not. We were at the game on Friday night, and we watched, and it's like, hey, man, he's pulled all the tricks already. He's a guy that was, for his career, severe fly ball, pull side. That's the way that I hit for power. And typically at this point in your career, that's the kind of thing that you can pull on. Like, there's a couple of levers that you can pull for starting pitchers, like late in your career. Maybe you learn the slider, right? Like you find a way to incorporate some kind of a new slider with different movement into your mix while you're losing some of the velo on your fastball, especially if you're a reliever. Like, that's a way that you can extend your career. You incorporate some kind of a cutter. Like, those are the kinds of things that you can lean on. But if you've always had those things and there's no lever left to pull, it becomes difficult for you to overcome some of those struggles. That's where Arenado's at. There's not really a lever to pull here. I think we have to be accepting of the fact that the power just is not going to come back the same way that it previously was there. But that doesn't mean he's a complete lost cause. He can still be somebody that helps you win baseball games. And I think right now, that's what he's doing. He's coming up in big spots. He's a guy that some of the defensive plays that he's making this year are, phenomenal. He's a great defensive player right now for you. And they're finding ways. They're finding ways to overcome his lack of production. And they need to keep doing that. It puts more pressure on the guys at the top of your order. And it puts more pressure on especially your right-handed bats. Because if he's not going to be that, dude, Contreras, Winn, Walker when he returns, these guys have to be good hitters for you, especially against lefties. Look at what the Dodgers did yesterday. They decided to push Clayton Kershaw up a day to get that lefty against the Cardinals. Look at what the Royals had. They had a bunch of lefties, right? Look at what the Rangers... These left-handed pitchers are going to become a theme for the Cardinals. I think they have more plate appearances against left-handed pitchers this year than any team in Major League Baseball. There's a reason for that. People see there's a little bit of a liability, and until the Cardinals make them pay for it, they're going to continue to do exactly that.
And honestly, Arenado's in the best spot for that, because if things go the opposite direction, I don't know if he's the first one you're pointing at. I think you're starting to point at other guys. You're pointing because of the $30 million, but you know what Arenado is now. I think you're pointing more at Contreras, you're pointing at Herrera, you're pointing at those guys, wondering where the bat's been rather than Arenado. To where years past it's been Goldie and Arenado, you're the problem.
Because I can't ask for more from him now. Now I know. Like, last year it was, dude, you got to get more from Arenado. This is not good enough. This is not good enough. Now it's, okay, well, we've all accepted it. This is who he's going to be. What does that mean for the construction of the lineup?
And I think the other big part of this, too, is people have come to the realization that Nolan Gorman doesn't need any runway. Like, your other option is Nolan Gorman at third base, unless you move Donovan to third, but then you got Gorman at second. And I don't think anybody really wants to see that bat anymore, meaning Cardinals fans. And so it's come to, well, you've got Arenado, who's giving you elite defense and helping you win games, or you're playing with an unknown at either third or second base, and the bat's not going to help you at all.
Yeah, I think there's some of that. I think you just see the defense, and it's like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, not have that guy in there? You know? Somebody on the text line, by the way, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show, said, guys, the Busch Stadium has really affected his power, and now it's ruining him at home and on the road. It is interesting. Nolan Arenado has actually been very good this season at home. He has an OPS of 785 at home. He has an OPS on the road of 570.
Oof.
So it's a more than 200-point swing, and this is over more than 100 at-bats, both at home and on the road. I don't really know what to make of that. It could just be like a couple of hits here, a couple of hits there that are changing it in a meaningful way, but it's the average, it's the on-base, and it's the slug. It's everything that is different at home versus on the road. And like I said, I don't really know what to make of that, but I do find that kind of interesting this season, because there have been times in the past where it definitely felt that way, as though Busch Stadium was a big part of the problem for Arenado, because it is so cavernous and it's tough for right-handed power hitters that hit for pull side power. Yep. This was the case for him last year, too. Last year, he was a 305 hitter at home. Did you guys know that? 800 OPS, 305 hitter at home. On the road, 240 hitter with a 645 OPS. Oof. I don't think I realized how much he had road issues in the past. Can we get somebody to figure out his hotel situation?
I think you could say that
Anybody
for about
talks to
3
him
or
about
4
it?
different people on the road. That's been a problem for the last couple
Cardinals
of years,
struggle
though.
with that. Remember all the back tightness.
Yeah,
they've
back
dealt
tightness,
with?
back spasms that happen on the road.
Somebody should get him one of those hyperbaric chambers to sleep in on the road. Be like, hey, Nolan, we're going to try to switch things up here a little bit. You're now going to sleep in a hyperbaric chamber on the road, and when you're at home, you'll be good. Or I'm watching the rehearsal right now. Ridiculous show, by the way. Just absolutely ridiculous in every possible way. Anybody in our audience that knows about it, it's absurd. We should have some kind of a recreation of his home bedroom. They should build that for him on the road every time. Maybe that's the way we do this.
I don't know if you need the bedroom. You might just need the bed, man.
Sure, yeah.
Got to get extra pillows on that mattress. Or maybe he's not sleeping on the proper linen count, thread count.
We got to figure out something.
I personally don't sleep on anything below 1,200.
Is that
anything
true?
below 1,200 is just
We like the
trash.
jersey sheets.
Katie does too. And I tell her it's an 800 thread count. Up yourself a little bit. She came home with one. She was like, ooh, look what I found. I'm like, this is 800 thread count.
Are you being...
I'm not joking
He's
with
being
you.
serious.
I'd call her and ask her.
You didn't check that when we were at our Airbnb.
Well, sometimes you can't check those, but for my bed that I sleep on, 1,200 plus. Do yourself a favor.
So
Have
needy.
some respect
So
for your
needy.
own body. Do not sleep on anything below 1,200.
How often do you wash your sheets?
Probably every 3 days.
Every
3 days.
Really?
Well, I mean, we have 5 sets of sheets. That almost was a disaster. Don't say sets of sheets fast. That's going to turn bad. We have a lot, so we take sheets off probably 2 or 3 days and we put new ones on.
Really?
Yeah. And then we do the sheets whenever we do the laundry.
Am I wrong on this?
No,
Feels
man, you
aggressive to
sleep
me.
with you have dead skin cells every night that leak off
How
of you.
often are you-
Do you shower in the morning or at night?
It depends a lot of the time. Sometimes both.
Because see, some people don't shower before they go to bed, which means the day's dirt is going into your sheets at night.
Interesting. T-Bone, are you like a...
No, T-Bone
every
doesn't
3-day guy?
T-Bone's every
No,
month.
I'm every other week is mine.
Oh, that's nasty. That's nasty, man. That's just disgusting.
What? I don't think that's bad.
There's so much filth that goes into your bed at night.
I think 3 days is more insane than every couple of weeks.
No.
Far
you
more insane.
sweat at night, too?
Oh, no, I've
there's
got the apartment nice and cool.
I
I'm
do,
not
too, and I
sweating
still
at night.
sweat.
No,
Plus,
no.
my wife is a furnace.
Well, I don't have that problem.
I sweat
you
at
don't
night
have
for
that
sure.
problem. Yeah, no.
We're like
it's
every
filth.
3 months.
You do every 3 days. And again, I'm not washing them every 3
Trying to
days.
get his reaction. He
I
didn't
put
even
a.
hear me.
What did he say?
So
I
we're
don't
like
know. I
every
wasn't
3
listening.
months.
That's disgusting. No, I do take the sheets off every 3 days and you put a new one on. Now, we do the laundry, every weekend. So, I don't wash them every day.
All
I
right.
got 5 to go through.
He's
15
Alex
days.
Estevon on BK. Coming up in about 15 minutes, John Mozeliak had some high praise for the 2025 Cardinals. He compared them to a previous team in terms of the viewing experience for him in his chair. You're going to want to hear this. That's in 15 minutes. In or out coming up next year on 101 ESPN. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for in or out. You guys give us a scenario. We'll tell you if we are in or out here on BK and Ferrario. I put out a poll. I couldn't not do this. How often do you change your sheets? Every few days, every week, every couple of weeks, or not often at all? Those are the 4 options for you. So far, we're about 40 votes in. Nobody has said every few days. Not a single person.
That's not true. 5.9% has it every few days. Also, the 47% that said every couple of weeks, y'all are nasty people. Nasty. That's disgusting. The amount of times that I guarantee the people that voted on this that come home and say, I'll shower in the morning. You just went to bed in the filth that you walked around all day.
Woke up and they showered.
And then guess what? They laid back down and then again the next day.
And then they wake up and they shower.
That's filthy. You're laying in dirt. That's like sitting in a bathtub and not washing first. You're just sitting in it.
Or after. You could wash after.
Disgusting.
All right, man, listen.
Sleep on clean sheets with high thread count. Take care of yourself. That's where you spend almost a quarter of your life. Take care of yourself.
Some people a third.
Absolutely.
T-Bone more closer to a quarter.
Mine's pretty low.
Take care of yourself, people.
Let's get into a game of in or out. Guys, in or out, at least one of Nolan Gorman or Eric Fetty will be traded by the Cardinals at the deadline.
Oh, in. I think Nolan Gorman's going to be the one that's traded. If you're buying, he's traded. If you're selling, Fetty's traded.
I'm in. I can see a path for both of them being dealt. Gorman could be the guy that goes out and gets something. And I don't know how they're going to operate at the deadline, but if they are money in, money out, I mean, you mentioned this to Katie, and I think they could do this as well. Trade Fetty, get an asset for Fetty, and then go out and acquire a starter with maybe Nolan Gorman.
I think I'm in on this as well. I think those are their 2 chips. The Cardinals have operated at the deadline where they typically will use something for their major league club more so than something that is like down in the minor league system that they believe will be a future consideration for them. Maybe Sajasi fits into this category as well. He's not technically on the big league club, but he's like on the verge. Maybe Luke and Baker could help them get something in this regard as well. But if they're trying to trade for a starter, a reliever, and or a bench bat, these are the kinds of pieces I think that you're probably going to be talking about once we get to the deadline. Alex, what do you got for us today?
Guys, in or out?
You don't have one. T-Bone, what do you got for us today?
Guys, in or out? The Cardinals will have someone drive in 100 runs this season.
Out.
Out.
Well,
Who's the closest guy on pace for right now?
Is projected right now to get to 95.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a hell of a comeback for him.
Yeah.
I'm still out, but that's impressive.
I would say in on this.
Wow.
He might do it because I think he's about to go on a tear. He's projected for 17 home runs as well. I think he's got more power than that. I think he'll get to 20 to 25. And if I think that, then I think he's going to drive up that RBI number a little bit. I think he'll get there. He won't do the 35 I predicted in the beginning of the season. But he looks like he's about to go on a tear. And as it starts to warm up here, he could really increase those power numbers.
Arenado quietly has 32 RBI, by the way. He has a couple of sac flies on the season.
So he's your answer for 100 RBI?
No, but like he's second on the team right now in RBIs this year. He's been not very good, as we talked about in the last segment.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
A little bit of both.
That's a wild thing too for how good they've been with runners in scoring position, and he's second best in your team with with RBI.
Yeah, a lot of that is just he's coming up with runners on a lot because your top 3 are getting on so often.
The 6 hole is the new 4 hole, is what you're saying.
Alex,
in or out? The Blues should divert their options and go get Aaron Ekblad.
Ooh. I'm going to say out because of the years.
You wouldn't go 7 by 7.5 with him?
You could convince me it wouldn't be that hard.
I wouldn't, because I'm worried about the injuries with him. And I don't know if you guys have been paying real close attention. Dude takes the worst penalties at the worst time. Now, some of this is just you play physical, and he even had the quote about...
Falk puts the puck in the worst spot at the worst
You know
time.
what? He takes some bad penalties at some bad times. He even had the quote of McDavid like walking on water and called him McCheesus. So it's hard to defend that player. The injuries concern me with that because, again, wear and tear for a guy that plays that physical at that age. I know they age gracefully, but what about a guy who's been in this scenario that he's been? Because this is now 3 straight Stanley Cup finals for him as well.
That's the thing. It's just a lot of hockey. So, again, you could convince me. I could understand it, but are you getting out of a contract that you don't want to be in just to enter a new contract that you're soon going to be in the same situation?
Get out of Falk, and people say, well, go get Ekblad. Man, you might be talking Ekblad like Falk in 3 years.
Yeah, I'm assuming in this scenario that I'm not getting a centerman.
No.
Then yeah, I'm out.
This is the guy.
I think it's
maybe a third line center, but
getting a defenseman is a want. Getting a centerman that's either your third line center or your second line center, depending on how you view it and what your options are, that's a must. Like, I think the offseason can't be graded higher than a B if there's not a center involved in it.
So he's, over the last 3 seasons, he's missed a lot of time during the regular season, whether it's for, this year was a suspension, right? Am I mistaken on that?
Yeah, suspension.
But then he's had some injury issues as well. He's played 242 games despite the suspension and the injuries because of all of those playoff games. And those, to me, even wear a little bit more. 20, 24, and then probably 20 playoff games again this year.
That's why Cam Fowler's a little bit more of an intriguing player that I'd be willing to go longer with, because he hasn't really played playoff hockey for, 7 years until this year. So he got a little bit more mileage on him.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for in or out. Guys, in or out. Daniel Jones is the Colts QB1 at the start of the season. This comes from Bishing About Sports. He said, I'm currently in hell.
Well, it's not Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I'm in. I think that's probably going to be what happens, and it makes me very sad.
I'm in as well. I'm sorry for the texture.
Yeah, well, you know what? Danny Dimes and Indy's going to be fun.
Somebody else says,
I wouldn't go that far.
Guys, in or out, you replace your bath towel after every shower.
No, I don't do that. As long as you hang dry it.
Interesting.
Why would I do that?
So every
though?
3 days.
I figured
Why would I do? Why would I
that.
change the towel when I'm clean? I'm drying my clean self off.
Because you're not all the way clean after every.
How do you shower if you're not all the way clean after you shower?
And that towel now has water in it, which could potentially cause mildew.
Well, that's why I said you hang dry. You have to hang it over the shower straight so it dries.
That works. But how often do you change your?
Probably
towel?
every 4 or 5 showers.
That's more nasty.
Oh, I agree with that, Tim.
BS.
Yeah.
BS. That's
I do
not more nasty.
2 to 3 tops.
Somebody brought up do you change your couch every 2 or 3, every couple of days? No, because I'm not laying face down on my couch. I'm sitting on it.
314-399-9646.
How filthy are your clothes if you're sitting on a couch and you need to change it every 3 days?
That's the same about your bed. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line.
Sleep a certain way that you have to clean the sheets.
In or out. Guys, in or out, at least 3 players from the Cardinals' current Major League roster will be traded at the deadline. I'd be out on that. That's
a lot. That's a lot. I'll say out.
I think I would say out as well.
Even in sell mode, I don't know if you could do that many.
Sell mode,
you
I
could
get there.
Helsley, Fetty, Maton. Okay, I guess
easily.
Yeah, I don't know who.
Mats as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're a buyer, I don't know how you get to that spot. So out.
Okay. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service X line for in or out. You guys give us a scenario. We will tell you if we are in or out here on BK and Ferrario. Guys, in or out, Blues will not keep Benner and Hofer together for the long haul. In or out, the Blues, let me ask this in an easier way. In or out, the Blues will allow one of Benner or Hofer out of their contracts after they're currently out. They either trade or allow them to walk.
Does that mean no contract for Joel Hofer in this scenario?
Potentially.
Look, I could see it with Hofer, but you have to be 100% confident that Colton Ellis is ready to go, and he hasn't even touched the NHL. I'm going to say out. I think for the next 2 years, this is your tandem, and in year 3, you have to make a decision. My guess is Hofer's going to have a bridge deal, 2-year deal, same length as Jordan Bennington. At that point, you just decide where you want to go.
Yeah, I'm out. I agree with what Alex is saying there. I think you re-up Hofer. I think 2 years, I think that's actually perfect. Just figure out what you have in the remainder of this Bennington deal, and then you can figure out what you want to do when you get to that spot.
I'm out because I just don't know how much value these guys have. We've talked about this before, Alex. Teams in the NHL are weird with this. They both value goalies above all else because they know they can't win a cup without a good one, and also don't value them at all via trades. Yeah. I don't get it. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, but that's where
I could see the scenario. As long as Bennington doesn't look like he's like steadily declining, I could see an area where you give Hofer a bridge deal, 2 years, $3.5 million, and then in 2 years, if Bennington looks like he's just continuing to play as well. I mean, look, sometimes goalies do age well. Bobrovsky's up there in age, and he's performing well still. You get to the point where in 2 years, Colton Ellis might be ready for the NHL, might be a valid backup. Bennington's a 50-50 guy. Hofer becomes a great trade chip for you.
All right, over on Twitter, at BK Sports Talk, how often do you change your sheets? Every few days, every week, every couple of weeks, or not often at all? So far, two people of the 150 votes have said every few days. Alex is right there with you. He has all kinds of allies. The people in this room would basically be the equivalent.
That's what I'm learning right now of your poll.
How many people change their sheets as often as he does. Coming up next, John Mozeliak compared the 2025 Cardinals to the 2004 Cardinals in one specific way. He'll explain next here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson with a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals back in action tonight as they start a 3-game set with the Toronto Blue Jays. 6:45 will be first pitch. Jose Barrios will be on the mound for Toronto. Andre Palante will get the start for St. Louis. This portion is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
Alex, I saw over the weekend on Twitter, one of the bloggers said, hey, John Mozeliak compared the 2025 Cardinals to the 2004 Cardinals, and I was like, oh, no, Mo.
Now Mo needs to hand the reins over to Hyman and say, I'm done.
And so I was like, all right, I got to find this audio. Viva Albertos does a really good job, and they put this audio out there. If you want to listen to John Mozeliak, he talks with the bloggers. I think it's really cool, first of all, that he does this. The bloggers, many of them are awesome, and they are very specific in their niche, a lot of them. Like some of them specifically will cover the prospects, right? That's all they do. Others will prognosticate on the team, similar to what we do here on the radio. So I have a lot of love for the bloggers out there, and I do appreciate that the Cardinals give them a day every year. He's done this, I think, for like 15 years now with the Cardinals. Mo has. So credit to them. Credit to the bloggers for doing this. Credit to Viva Albertos for this audio you're about to hear. I think the context of it is worth noting. It's not exactly like just a one-for-one comparing 2025 to 2004. Take a listen.
In 2004, if you recall that club, we were kind of like muddling through a 500 season through about mid-May. And then that team just kind of took off. And I remember like sitting with Walt, in July, August, and like, I just remember like coming to the ballpark always thinking we were going to win. Just always believed we were going to win. And that's a very similar feeling I have with this club. I think part of that, again, is like we're just in every baseball game. And so you have that type of confidence. And so I think what you're seeing now with this team is the young players, the players on the actual club, have that similar confidence. When they show up to the ballpark, their expectations are to win. 2023, I don't think we had that, right? And now I'm comparing a 2004 team that won 105 games to a team that's, a third of the way through the season. That's a big stretch, big leap. But my point is, I really believe that clubhouse has a lot of confidence in what they do.
Alex, what do you make of that? Because I agree with him. Like, comparing anything to the 2004 Cardinals is like comparing any player to Albert Pujols. Even if you're just saying, hey, the swing reminds me of what Albert was. It's always going to get some backlash because putting one player in the same breath as Albert puts way unrealistic expectations on whoever that player is, right? It's almost impossible to live up to that expectation. But, like, whether you want to call it the 2004 Cardinals or you just want to say, like, I do agree that I go into games right now believing the Cardinals are going to win. And even within the game, when they're down, like Sunday, you brought this up earlier today, I believed the Cardinals were going to find a way to come back yesterday. I didn't know if they were going to win, but I believed they would find a way to make it interesting late, and that's exactly what they ended up doing before Swanson, threw up all over himself at the end of that one. But I do feel that same vibe around the club. Do you feel that?
Yeah, I do.
What Mo was describing.
If you're going off of the measurement that Mo said to where you feel like they're in every single game, yeah. I mean, I don't know how you don't compare it to that team. Now, the difference is, like, you felt like you were in every single game because you had Pujols, Rolen, and Jim Edmonds. This feels different to the sense of, like, they are just a committee that seems to win. Like, no matter who you're relying on, somebody is going to come through in a different moment. And this one was you're relying on Pujols, Edmonds, and Scott Rolen to drag you back into this fight.
3 legitimate MVP games.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I do agree with the sentiment of, like, yeah, this is a team that no matter the scenario, no matter the opponent, they have the weaponry to go out there and push themselves into a baseball game. So whether it's 2004 or if you feel like there's another team that's right there, the comp is more so about how good the offense is from top to bottom. And I guess you could argue how deep the team is from top to bottom.
Also just find ways to win. I don't know if I would really consider that to be a skill, but it kind of feels like it is for the 2025 Cardinals. where on any given day, it could be anything. They win in different ways, man. Some days it's the pitching. Some days it's the defense. Some days it's the timely hitting. Some days it is the power, although that is kind of few and far between lately.
Not very often.
I mean, Friday it kind of was, though, right? Like, yes, the defense and the pitching was huge, but also they had a couple of home runs that were able to propel them into that win. So I do think this team it has a knack to find whatever is necessary on any given day to either win or give themselves a chance to win. That is some kind of a skill. I don't know how much value to place on it, but it's not nothing. For sure.
And they're going to go find themselves a 37-year-old former MVP at the deadline.
I was just thinking that this might have been like a hint
Let's
of
target.
like Mo doing a really big splash in his final
Who
year.
would be the 2025 version? That was the Larry Walker year, right? Who would be the 2025 version of Larry Walker? A Hall of Famer that's kind of back end of his career.
List of. You got to find former
Kyle
MVPs.
Nah, he's not a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, you got to find like guys who are.
Nobody has anybody like that old anymore on their roster.
Not only that, but like the teams that are bad are pretty bad.
Yeah, they have no Larry Walker.
Dude, Marcell Ozuna.
Mo mentioned in that if you go and listen to that audio, he regrets
Andrew
that trade.
McCutchen.
That's a good one.
Andrew McCutchen. Former MVP. I don't think they will either. Former MVP, righty, Hall of Famer.
That's a pretty good one.
I don't know. It'd be Andrew McCutchen.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
Andrew McCutchen or Mike Trout.
Oh,
Trout's
the one. Oh,
Trout's a fun one. But that was like at the very end.
I also love that would be like a bad contract too. That he'd like just dump on Heimblum.
Can you imagine? He's like, hey, we got to win.
We got Mike Trout.
Trout's been playing really well.
He's still dealing with all kinds of injuries.
That's fine, but I'll go get Trout. I'll go get him.
He's got the knee. I remember Larry Walker saying like his knees were shut at that point in his career. He's got the knees of Larry Walker at this point in his career.
Trout's exclusively a home run hitter. Like he does not hit for average anymore.
He's a righty too.
Yeah.
There you go.
Isn't Walker a lefty? Why do you keep saying righty?
Well, because lefty at the time, that's what they needed.
Oh,
righty is what they need right now. At the time, they needed a lefty.
I was like, I don't understand. I thought maybe I misconfused.
No, they had all of the righties on that team. They just needed a power left-handed bat.
A lot of people are saying Paul Goldschmidt.
No.
Oh, that would be.
We don't
fun.
have a position. We don't have a
Awesome.
position. We don't have a position for him here.
Can we put him in the outfield?
This is BK's point. Just load up on first baseman and DHs.
Catchers, first baseman, DH. That's all you need on your team.
No, man.
Cardinals are going to test that.
I need
theory
outfielders.
Let's go get Stanton.
That's another one. Former MVP.
Okay.
No, I'm good. Coming up next, the Rewind here on 101 ESPN. If you missed anything from today's show, you missed out our conversation with Katie Woo. She explained why she believes that the Cardinals will probably send down Michael McGreevy sooner rather than later. He'll be back up later on to be another spot starter for the Cardinals. We also did some silly stuff like talk about how often you change your sheets, how often you swap out your shower towel. Alex called me a nasty boy. T-Bone was called
context.
Tiny Tim. A lot of conversations that you missed out on from the show today. And you can check that all out on the podcast page after the show today at 101ESPN.com and the free 101 ESPN app, and that is sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
Alex, the Cardinals won 2 out of 3 over the weekend. We talked a lot about what that means for them in the big picture. Winning 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers is no small feat. They have a big task, though, at hand starting tonight. 3 games against the Toronto Blue Jays. I think people are maybe overlooking this series because it's sandwiched in between the Dodgers, which is, the Dodgers, and then a 4-game set on the road at the Brewers, who have been a team that have been a thorn in the side of the Cardinals in recent seasons. The Blue Jays have been playing some very inspired baseball. The offense has been hot. They don't have a lot of name recognition within that lineup, but a lot of those guys that are kind of under the radar are actually the ones that are hot in their lineup right now. And over the next 2 days, you'll see Jose Barrios and Chris Bassett, both of whom are very good starters. What are you expecting going into this season, Alex? Or into this series, rather?
Yeah, I'm expecting the same thing that we've seen from the Cardinals, finding ways to win or at least being in baseball games. I don't expect them to be blown out anymore. I'll tell you, though, that I'm really focused on how they do against this pitching. You mentioned it. You're going up against 2 top-level pitchers in terms of the starters, and then a bullpen that has been good for Toronto. So this is another test for your offense. How do you fare against this type of pitching? Because that's been the one area I've been confident in all season long.
I'm curious. I'm with you with their pitching. How does their pitching do against this lineup that's on fire right now, the Cardinals? Because though it was great to take 2 or 3 from the Dodgers, I said this earlier. Look, their ceiling has been raised, but it feels very fragile, right? Because they are living on BABIP right now. Are you getting lucky or are you not? And I will be curious to see if that luck continues into this series against the Blue Jays.
I said going into the weekend, I think the Cardinals would take 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers. I also said going into the weekend that I think the Cardinals would lose 2 out of 3 against the Blue Jays. That's my current anticipation. I want to see what Palante looks like tonight. If I was the Cardinals, if they end up sending down Michael McGreevy today, I think it'll be not a huge mistake, not some unforgivable thing, but I do think it's a little bit. I would question that. I don't know. I don't think I would do that. I would wait until tomorrow to make that call on which of those 2 you're sending down. Because if Palante goes into the game tonight and gets rocked, I would rather have McGreevy up here for that next start and then send Palante down to work on some stuff if you're tied to this 5-man rotation decision. So I'll be curious to see what the Cardinals do there. I am a little bit nervous tonight going into this one. I think they have a pretty significant pitching advantage. I also thought that the Dodgers had a pretty significant pitching advantage, though, on Saturday. Puts that much more pressure on your defense and your offense. We'll certainly be breaking that all down for you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. here on the show. We will talk to Jeremy Rutherford. He's doing his fan survey right now. I want to throw a few of the questions to him. I think there's some fun ones in there. So we'll do that with JR tomorrow. We will talk to you guys then. The Fast Lane's coming up next year on 101 ESPN.